makes us strong enough. You and I. Everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I.
When I was a little girl, Halloween was my favorite holiday. Mom always said eating too many treats before bed would give me bad dreams. She was right. I found myself trapped in a surreal, candy-induced dream. Psst, trick or treat, motherfucker! Welcome to my nightmare. I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me.
My gate stands like a star in the darkness. A burning light that keeps enemies at bay. Can you take the heat?
Get elite real-world performance for your desktop PC with 10th Gen Intel Core processors. If you're looking to game, create, live stream, or stay productive, 10th Gen Intel Core processors deliver an optimal balance of frequency, cores, and threads to handle real-world usages. Get enthusiast-level performance with an Intel Core i9 processor, up to 5.3 GHz clock speed for peak gaming performance and content creation workloads. Or for competitive gameplay and content creation, choose an Intel Core i7 with up to 5.1 GHz clock speed to handle your demanding applications. The Intel Core i5 processor with up to 4.8 GHz gives you a seamless AAA gaming and entertainment experience. And with up to 4.6 GHz clock speed, the Intel Core i3 is a great fit for everyday tasks and productivity. If you're looking to push your system even further, get additional performance headroom with unlocked 10th Gen Intel Core processors, supported by Intel's advanced overclocking controls. Bring elite, real-world performance to your desktop PC with 10th Gen Intel Core processors.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Season 3, Week 4 of Rainbow Six Siege Women's League. My name is the Russian Cthulhu. Once again, I'm joined by a wonderful Pi. How you doing?
Yeah, same as always. Great as always. How are you doing, Cthulhu?
Yeah, actually doing pretty good. Just chilling and just kind of enjoying a nice Thursday evening. We have a few things before we get out of the before we get to the all the formalities and all the good stuff. We have the ZQ Racing MVP chair to show off before we get to the matchup. So one lucky player will be able to get their hands on the V6 Racer gaming chair in purple and black, and we'll have to wait till the end of the season before we'll find the conclusion and who will rather get their hands on that chair. But let's have a look at the full teams list real quick, see how things are about to be stacking up. So it's we have quite a few teams that actually have managed to show us some pretty good performance, didn't they, Pi?
Yeah, some of these teams have definitely stood out straight from the start. But as it is, let's look at what teams there are today. There's going to be Kingswomen, 71st, Barry's Bees, ShadowNet, Nocturnal, Nutty Gaming, and Elevate.
Yeah, so some of those teams actually showed us some pretty impressive scorelines. Some few matches that were kind of ending on some odd scorelines, but overall, definitely some bangers I still reckon we might be seeing coming up. So let's quickly have a peek at the round robin standings as well and see how things so far worked out. So we have Elevate currently sitting on the first place, Nocturnal right behind them, 71st and ShadowNet on 3rd and 4th place. As that's so far a pretty solid stack of 4 teams that definitely quite keen to see whenever they will get to playoffs to see how will they perform.
Speaking of playoffs, the top 4 teams who do playoff will have a chance to, nab a little win from the prize pool.
Yes, let's have a look at the prize pool as well. That will be split between all of, the 3 teams. Sorry, nearly just kind of died out there on my brain. Total prize pool is $3,000 reduced. First place to get themselves $1,500. Second place for just $1,000 at the moment, and well, not just $1,000. It is quite a hefty sum of money. And then the third place is $500 reduced. Pretty good incentive for the teams to grind out this season and just get themselves quite some nice set of money as well. Right before as well the Christmas season, so just at the right time. Now, let's have a look at our match schedule to see what teams will be battling it out today for some potential positions, or rather positioning upgrades on the leaderboard. It is going to be 71st who will be battling against ShadowNet at the first match. And then it is going to be Nutty Gaming against Barry's Bees that will be on the broadcast. And then in between, it's going to be Nocturnal versus Kingswomen that we shall be updating you, our wonderful viewers, further down the line. Now, let's talk about our first match, 71st versus ShadowNet. We've seen already quite a fair bit of 71st, and they were able to show us some good performances. But do you reckon ShadowNet will be able to stack well against 71st?
I think coming into this, 71st definitely have the advantage when it comes to these games because they have played more, seeing as ShadowNet has been on a bye in the first week, whereas 71st have been playing every single week so far. So they've definitely had, more chances to play off as a team together, maybe bounce some strategies. But as it is, we can't really discount what ShadowNet is doing because, sure, it might not be streamed, but they could have, hidden strats, they could have hidden plans ready to unleash at any second.
Yeah, I'm actually quite keen to see how well ShadowNet perform because they did manage to show us some pretty good few games, the ones that were streamed on the main channel as well. Well, let's take a deep dive at roster 1 that is going to be 71st, I believe. And kind of deconstruct maybe a quick few thoughts about their roster because they were able to show us some really good plays, namely, at least personally for me, TikTok, Zero Prince, Meeps were doing pretty well overall.
Yeah, I think overall 71st have shown that as a team, they're all quite evenly rounded off. There's no real strong focus point because, as soon as you get someone who is a fragger in one game, instantly in the next, there's someone else who's taking that spot as the fragger or as the top performer, which is something you do want to see in a team. You want to see everyone being equally consistent. If a player isn't as consistent, then another player will, in a sense, pick up the slack and just even out the overall team ability.
Definitely. Now let's have a look at the challenges of 71st for tonight. It is going to be ShadowNet. The roster that actually were able to kick off their season pretty well. Did see a little bit of a rough couple of games, but overall still managed to keep themselves in the top 4, and that is all that matters. Now, it is Mingxi, Mons, Diana, Soy, Crips, Time for Pie as a sub player, and Crimspec. I'm assuming that Crimspec or Cromspec as the team coach. I do apologize though if I did butcher the name. But any kind of thoughts about that kind of roster?
I mean, if you want to talk about a team that has really strong individual members, I think ShadowNet is definitely one of those teams alongside Nocturnal and Elevate. Most of these members we have seen actually in the previous Women's League tourneys, not under the ShadowNet organization, but still participants. And they have shown that they're all equally quite strong at what they do. They've never had so much of a bad game unless it was against one of those top 2 teams. They really held their own against really any challenger that they've had. So I'm keen to see how they face up against 71st, who have also had a great streak of games so far.
Definitely, yeah. Both of the teams that are playing tonight certainly have shown us some great performances, and certainly looking at maybe starting to gain up on Nocturnal and Elevate as well, points-wise. see where that could really position them. Now, one more thing before we get into the matchup, it is going to be the map bans and map vetoes that we shall have to see, and it is going to be Clubhouse once again making a return. It seems to be that Clubhouse is now one of the most popular maps nowadays, but it's seen a few cool adjustments for some of the approaches, I reckon.
Yeah, I think Clubhouse alongside Oregon is one of those safe maps that you can go for, purely because they're played, so many times in the Women's League that it doesn't really matter who you're facing off against. You'll see a lot of, similar recurring strategies. You'll see similar operator lineups being chosen. So not a lot of surprises can be in store, really, if you do go with a safe map pick. Obviously, I could be proven wrong entirely, and, maybe Frost could get picked. We did talk a little bit about Frost last week during the broadcast, where, with her secondary gun, now that it's a shotgun, she's a little bit more viable than before.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, there were a fair few picks of Frost in LPL Pro as well as of recently, so certainly quite keen to see whether Frost's position will be solidified in any kind of specific meta or not, or whether it's going to be like one of those kind of pocket picks like, say, Capcan, or maybe even, well, I'm not saying Chanka, because Chanka is more so in delving into the meme realm, but yeah, Capcan, some of the trap operators, just the ones that you don't usually expect, and the element of surprise could really catch you off guard, which sometimes could really mess up the whole setup. But I believe we actually going to be seeing. It is going to be 71st to defend things, to defend the Clubhouse in the first half. Do you reckon the fact that they are going to be on the defense, would that give them the early advantage points-wise, or do you reckon it is all going to be kind of reliant on how many points can attack get for themselves?
I think going into this, ShadowNet is definitely going to be aiming to take at least a few attacking rounds away from 71st. But, from the past, just to vaguely gauge from the pattern that we've seen when it comes to Clubhouse, is that a lot of the times, teams will, if they're evenly matched to start off with, they will go back and forth, trade a few rounds here and there, possibly end the first half maybe at a 4-2 or it will be something close. However, a lot of the times, if the momentum is reached, whether it is for the defenders or whether it is for the attackers, and a snowball effect really starts, it's quite rare that we've seen teams break out of that pattern and, almost go for a comeback. So really, whoever takes the first few rounds, whether it be attack or defense, I think could get the map under their belt.
All right. Well, that's definitely setting up quite an interesting storyline. Now, we are just waiting for one more player to just join up our lobby to get things rolling and underway. But yeah, look, I'm definitely quite keen to see, because the question of the whole momentum is definitely a very valid thing, and we definitely witnessed quite a fair bit of it. I am though curious how will the ban phase really work out, because I did see a fair few times, mainly in LPL Pro, where some teams actually started fairly frequently banning Womai as well, to kind of, in a similar fashion. One sec. In a similar fashion of how, how when Mira was first introduced, well, not first introduced, when the ban phase was introduced and people were still kind of running the Mira meta, some of the teams started banning her out straight away, just to kind of force some of the teams out of their comfort zone. So theoretically, some of the teams starting to, it seems, to adapt to kind of, I suppose, almost anti-Wamai meta, which does actually spice things up a little bit for the defense, given that they're kind of going back to that ground zero, which is just only the Jaeger ADSs.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, actually, because Wamai is one of those pocket picks that is so effective on some objective sides, such as Clubhouse, and whereas on other sides, he's still just as effective. You just would choose another operator over him. The side that I'm specifically talking about where he is effective is that cache and CCTV side. At this point, in the higher level players, it's really rare that you don't see OMI get picked when it is cash and CCTV, and 99% of the times he will be playing on the rafters where he'll be gaining all that control for his defender team. So to be able to, block out that one operator, forcing the defenders to go, oh, well, now we only have 3 ADSs to whack with. We have to be more careful about where to place them. Do we go for more of a rafter-centered hold, or do we, rotate our ADSs elsewhere where the attackers might choose to push instead? So, having that Wamai off the board, I do believe it could be a good thing because it really does open up the board to new operator picks such as a Malusi. And, if the Wamai is banned, then what you said, Mirror could come through. Operators that do get banned in women's league, like Valkyrie, Maestro, some niche operator could also get picked for defense. So it really, spices things up a little bit and keeps things interesting.
Definitely. Now, let's have a look how things will really work out and get a quick peek at the clubhouse before we get straight into the game and see whether it's going to be 71st or ShadowNet coming out victorious during this matchup, because it is most certainly, I reckon, going to be a close one, given that both teams are at fairly even skill set, or rather skill rating. So certainly I'm curious to see what could be coming out of this. Hello. We don't need the scoreboard just yet, but looking at the bans first up, again, Thatcher, the ban that has been, kind of almost borderline stock standard, really, as it's just kind of almost a given now that he's being banned.
Yeah, an operator like Thatcher, he can be counted against, but at the same time, he's incredibly annoying to just play against. And it frees up a lot of space on the board to not have that pressure of worrying against him. Because, as a defender, it does mean that you could possibly pick a Cade if you're going downstairs and not really have to worry about any of your claws being, EMP'd off, essentially. Whereas, having an Ace ban instead of a Maverick ban, I think that's a little bit interesting, though. Seeing as Maverick a lot of the times is a lot more annoying to deal with than the Ace, especially due to the recent nerf of Ace, where he only goes for 2 breaching charges or 2 breaching instances instead of 3.
Yeah, that's a good point. The Ace and Thatcher ban almost feels like it's kind of banning out that whole duo. Because with Ace, even though, he still has those 2 ticks with per each one of his, I suppose, explosive bread loaves. The fuse time is still, I feel, a whole lot shorter comparative to like Hibana or Thermite. So it's much harder to bandit trick. Whereas, say, with the whenever you play against the Maverick, you can still theoretically go for a gunfight, try to shoot him out, or say, like, if it's a Kaid, remove the Electric Claw, throw in a C4, and try to fend him off that way. So I think it's more so just kind of borderline comfort ban, maybe, seeing as Ace kind of replaced the whole OG kind of breaching duo that was the Thatcher Thermite, kind of took Thatcher for himself for all the kind of quick breaching duty. So possibly it's that's one of the reasons. Another possibility is just for the sheer fact that Ace is just nuts with his gun.
Yep. I 100% agree with you there. A lot of the times I have picked Ace over Thermite, even though, I love playing Thermite. He's such a great operator. But a lot of times I will pick Ace purely for the gun. I just be like, you know what, I don't really feel like playing hard breacher, but we do need a hard breacher, so I'm going to pick Ace.
5 seconds.
Yeah, Ace almost slots into that kind of position where I suppose Hibana kind of filled in once she initially got introduced, where she's 3 speed, she had still has a pretty good gun for fragging, so whenever she extinguishes all of her utility, she could go for just flat out like Ash level of fragging, whereas with Ace, it's just theoretically could think of him as Hibana on steroids.
Yeah.
Which
it
just works.
Well, as it is, Crips is going to be able to, pretty much take that stock room uncontested. Sometimes we do see a little bit of a lounge presence by the teams, but Minxie is going to go for a drone. I don't believe that they actually managed to spot out Meeps, who is in the flank in the bathroom. So, she could prove to be a little bit of a disastrous effect onto Minxie if she doesn't really check her bar angles.
Well, it doesn't look like Minx actually checked. Oh no, actually one of the drones has spotted, so there's full knowledge about Meep's position. Minxie might actually be quite prepared for that. Yeah, she's fully knowledgeable about the position, so the pings actually even do come out, and full knowledge about the whereabouts, and fantastic play actually, and good droning to ensure that there's not going to be a whole lot of information. Now let's take a look who's actually above. It's Weasel actually trying to find the shot onto Minxie, and actually has quite a wide angle, but doesn't have the reaction speed.
I feel like Weasel's playing it a little bit safe. You know, you could have probably wide swung that to maybe get a pick onto Minxie, who probably wouldn't have been expecting it. But as it is, you know, you are down a player, so I assume the correct play is to, you know, hold your angles, play it a little bit safe, but at the same time, it is going to be Crips getting that headshot onto Zero Prince.
Yeah, with Zero Prince now out of the equation, it's down to Wamai to hold the rafters, and even that cannot be achieved. So a fantastic shot right between the railings, and the ballistic shield will be, well, leaving 71st with only 2 players remaining, and that is going to be Weasel and Ticked Off. Now, Ticked Off gets a really nice shot onto Crips, so that is a solid beginning, 2v4. Although still, well, now make it a 3-player disadvantage, no player disadvantage, that's about it really. Ticked Off did not clutch. And well, that is all she wrote really at the end of the first round.
I mean, it would have been a tall order to clutch that anyways, you know, as this SMG 11 player against all these members on rafters pushing you in like that. Not a good time, I can tell you that.
Yeah, a bit rough, definitely. Oh, I mean, still, I've got to give it to Shadownet. They did a pretty solid round. Managed to just isolate all of those gunfights into 1v1s and just kind of took those with full confidence. So we'll have to see if they are able to continue that momentum, like you mentioned before, which could really snowball the scoreline into their favor pretty quickly. Looking at the lineup, anything that could be suggesting maybe a roam or an anchor play, rather?
Well, I believe that the reason why 71st had such a strong start to that first round in which they attacked was because of how quickly they managed to clear Meeps out from that bar roam. I don't think, you know, I didn't really see that camera in bar flashing at all, that default camera, which probably indicated that she didn't really have any backup from her team when she was on the roam. And a lot of times, especially if you're solo roaming, you do want to be doing it on the basis of intel. So you either go as an intel operator, such as a Valkyrie, possibly a Mozzie, or a Vigil even to deny intel. But in that case, you know, as just one Jaeger, sure, you've got a great gun, sure, you're really speedy with that 3 speed. Oh, no, 2 speed now, sorry.
Yeah.
But apart from that, you're just any old operator.
And being a lone operator, especially once you got kind of spotted by some of these drones, is incredibly hard to really make work. So I am still curious about this decision by TikTok. Oh, getting close to nearly having her head taken off there by Crips.
That's a close shave.
Yeah, that was a very close shave. But alas, was able to rotate back. So now full ground floor control, no vertical presence, and Crips will confirm that momentarily. And it seems, funnily enough, actually, Blue Hatch was left soft. So Soy just got a pretty clean opening there, and for now should be able to hold any kind of rotations that will be from the blue tunnel straight into Armory.
Yeah, you know, a lot of the times it is underestimated how strong of an angle that hatch can be. So, you know, when you want to put a electrified claw, normally that is one of the hatches that you do want to place it on. It seems that 71st is expecting more of a dirt take. You know, I did see a few Wamai magnets onto that wall, but as it is, Shadownet is going to be going for more of a top-down clear, you know, going for those verticalities onto kitchen, hopefully taking down one of those cage charges. Zero Prince is below, and she does still have 2 impacts in her pocket as well, which does open her up to possibly being able to impact trick that hatch, which is entirely possible. She does go for the impact, but she gets it on the second impact. That was 2 impacts used though for 1 set of Habana pellets. So as it is, Dinah is going to be opening up those hatches, but it was a good effort overall.
Yeah, good effort indeed. Now comes the big question of who will be able to nail their shots more here within this vertical play, because so many pixel angles to be held, and it seems that Crips is actually already going to be cutting off a few rotations. Minxie to pop off, getting a 2k, very nicely done, as He's about to either find the Jaeger or, well, find her demise instead. And it's all down to Meeps and Daddy Matty to try to clutch this back up because the push is already happening, the plant is already going down, and Daddy Matty's position is being completely distracted and she's completely unknowledgeable about the presence down behind.
Daddy Matty, though, does manage to get Diana, who was the planter for the bomb, so Shadownet really need to make sure they have the angles covered for this bomb. Crips is on site and she does look a little bit vulnerable right there, but Soy off screen getting that headshot onto Daddy Matty, which means it is just going to be Meeps holding down the bomb. She will get flashed out and will get headshot by will headshot Crips instead, and now Meeps, unfortunate, not able to clutch up the round, but that was still a great attempt overall.
Yeah, good try. Definitely much closer round ending comparative to what we saw in round 1. So, all in all, well done, well played. I definitely, just by the way, realized that the R6 Analyst app that we have also does give a few cues when somebody gets a 2K or didn't clutch, and just giving that announcer like right at the top right corner is like, oh, somebody just didn't clutch. It's just, if I would have saw that like mid my own game, if I'm playing, it's just I would get like just so pissed off at that app. It's like when even an analyst app is like saying that you failed.
Like, thank you. Yes, I did not realize that I did not clutch. Thank you for pointing out my mistake.
Well aware. Thank you very much.
Just in case you didn't know. Now I know.
Well, funnily enough, we're actually going to be rotating to Gym out of all the sites. Instead of retrying to go back onto either CCTV or Church, Tertiary site is going to be picked here by 71st, even though they're still yet to find a point. And it seems that ShadowNet are, well, like you said, are kind of rolling in with a pretty good momentum overall. I mean, big props to Soy as well for making a fair few plays. Same goes for Crips and Minxie, currently leading with the points. Whereas, well, Mons and Diana, even though they do not have, well, any kills yet, but they still contributing to the team with a utility. They're doing all that they pretty much required to do, which is get the breaches, get the openings, and assist the fraggers.
Yeah, a lot of the time as the hard breacher, you know, your number one duty isn't really to get the frags, because you do have other members on your team to do that. And when it comes to ShadowNet, those other members are more than capable of getting those frags. So, you know, one of the top priorities for ShadowNet, especially when they are going to be attacking this gym and bedroom site, is to A, open up the castle barricade onto that gym wall, which Crips has already done with, you know, no hesitation, and B, open up any castle barricade that they will have when they're, ooh, some shots, when they're trying to trick onto that spa balcony double wall. But Crips did lay some warning shots onto TikTok, which does mean that, you know, any bandit tricking that is going to be happening today is not going to be happening today. Zero Prince is also in a really unfortunate spot. This is not the angle you really want to be stuck in, as TikTok can attest to that. Crips does know that there is another member still in gym, but Zero Prince swinging out gets Crips by surprise and gets that headshot as well.
Yeah, now that is a pretty decent trade, although could have been done much better and much cleaner, and not too sure whether it was misplayed by Zero Prince or whether it was just a miscommunication, but alas. Certainly it does introduce a few questions as to how come there were not enough of the magnet charges there to try to drain out maybe some of that Ash utility. But it is what it is. Mons is just gonna keep an eye out on the main stairs as right now. Oh, that's a full-on breach! Oh god, no Soy. That is a fright and a half there given to poor Weasel.
I think Soy was a little bit stressed over there as well. I don't think she's seen that coming either. But as it is, Soy does have a really strong position right now in that closet. If she just picks this fight, ooh, those footholds just working towards the defender's advantage. Normally it would be the other way around, but I guess not today.
It certainly looks like it. Meanwhile, Meeps is still kind of hanging around the cash room, knowing that there is a wild Hibana still trying to get into some kind of mischief. But right now, all of a sudden, ShadowNet's push has been completely throttled down, and Zero Prince has her sights trained right at that breach. So it's down to Soy to start making the big moves, because otherwise that is going to be exactly what was just done to Mons, and, well, Soy
It is
does.
Soy that is going to be getting that, yes, straight through, which does mean that Soy is now on site with a triple kill. All that is for Diana is to put down that bomb, and Meeps needs to clutch this once again. She does first have to face off against Soy, who is on a killing rampage at this point. I don't believe there's any intel available for 71st, and it is going to be Soy. As the little stat tracker says, Meeps 71st did not clutch that round, but it is going to be Soy clutching that round and finishing off this defender side.
I gotta say, Soy is doing some phenomenal job here as a sledge main for ShadowNet, definitely amping up the push. But that third round was a little bit alarming for ShadowNet because the moment their kind of overall momentum got shut down, the moment the Zafia and the Ashe kind of died, it seemed that ShadowNet just started throttling down and kind of being almost clueless about where they want to push, really, or rather they didn't have enough structure, as it seemed that all of the players kind of relied back onto just fragging out as a solo player more so than a team player. So it definitely does introduce a little bit of a question mark there for ShadowNet's performance in the last round. But going back to CCTV, maybe this is where we shall see 71st make a comeback, but otherwise it is currently a pretty solid momentum gain by ShadowNet, and I mean, they managed to nail everything down, and not to discredit 71st, they've been they have a pretty solid setup and everything. It seems that it's the gunfights that end up being a little bit more lackluster on the defensive side.
10 seconds to insertion.
Yeah, and a lot of the times when it comes to an uneven matchup of gun ability, you know, there are still strategies you can go for to go around that. You know, possibly having two people holding the same angle, you know, getting a little crossfire is always something that could be working towards your advantage. If the first person doesn't really get their shots, then the second one should hypothetically get their shots because, you know, the attacker will be looking in one direction. I am a little bit curious about the placement of the castle barricades. There is one on the garage door. Normally you wouldn't see that because as an attacker, it is quite easy to open up that wall, especially, you know, seeing as we do have a resident sledge main in the building, well, outside the building at this point. But it is a bit curious. As it is, Soy is just going to be able to, you know, effectively whack down these castle barricades with little to no trouble at all.
Exactly. Funnily enough, no presence whatsoever in the CCTV room as well, so if ShadowNet would have decided to go for a bit more of a ambitious push, they could have theoretically just jumped in, kind of swing upon Daddy Matty, and then, well, start going for a plan, because at that point you will either need TikTok to start early throwing the gas grenades, or Zero Prince to go in for the push, because neither Weasel nor Meeps are close enough to the side, and Crips right now is actually keeping them fairly preoccupied, although now with Weasel bailing away, it seems that it's Meeps' time to shine.
It is still going to be Soy though. Soy, that resident sledge main, getting that pick off onto Daddy Matty, which does mean that the rafters of garage is going to be secured. Meeps is still quite pressured down in that bathroom, but Zero Prince takes some bullets to her body and isn't looking so healthy at this point either.
Yeah, right now, oh, Soy missing out on just a few millimeters, and then it's actually going to be the win by Diana, and all of a sudden, the whole roster of 71st just completely collapsed. It's, well, theoretically 4v5, or 4v1, sorry, make it 5v1, as Mons just got picked back up, but, I mean, Soy, TikTok, I mean, could really clutch this out. She has 3 players currently low on health, but doesn't really have the positioning, and that's a flawless round for ShadowNet to take.
Yeah, I think that round was a little bit shaky at the start for ShadowNet. You know, all of the members of ShadowNet did get dropped quite low with a few downs here and there. But overall, I think that was a really smooth attack from ShadowNet, a lot smoother than the gym and bedroom site that they took earlier. So I think ShadowNet is, you know, quickly working on returning that momentum back to where it was before. Their attack had a little bit more purpose behind it, and it looked like they knew exactly what they wanted to do, which as an attacker is one of the best things you can do.
Yeah, I'm liking the overall kind of composition of ShadowNet. They seeming to be very, very coordinated about their pushes, or rather, they know exactly when and where to push even as a solo player, and kind of knowing where to adapt. Whereas it seems that for 71st, they have kind of a set strategy that they have, and try to work kind of around it more so than making kind of the strategy work around them, it seems. At least for this matchup. They were able to show us some good adaptability previously, but today just maybe it's just not their day. I'm not particularly too sure.
Yeah, it could just be nerves, you know, it could be maybe they haven't warmed up properly, maybe they're still trying to get their mind into the correct frame of things, which, if they are, you know, I would highly suggest for them to hurry that up a little bit, because the rounds are ticking by with very little remorse for them. So, you know, at this point, it is going to be a bit tricky. Not impossible for a comeback, but definitely tricky. However, with Zero Prince on that Legion though, I do think that this could be more impactful, seeing as members of ShadowNet do like, they'll alternate between either moving extremely fast or they'll move very slow, you know, drone out every part of the building and make sure all the angles are cleared. In which case, either way, Legion is great for that. It ticked off going for a little bit of a late hatch reinforce. Hopefully that's not too late. It is going to be okie dokie, seeing as members of ShadowNet are playing it a little bit slower this time. They do have control of the stock room, but they haven't really gone for any of the instantaneous hatch pushes. TikTok is in a little bit of a precarious situation right now. Hopefully, you know, members of her team are on that default bar camera to spot them out. The silent pings are coming out from members of ShadowNet, and it is going to be Soy. Once again, getting that early initial frag off onto TikTok.
That is a rough moment here for poor TikTok as well. Just she couldn't really get out of that position after it got spotted by the drone, and well, after that, pretty much it kind of snowballed there. Meeps unfortunately found her demise as well in the blue tunnel, which got peeked pretty quickly by Minxie, gotta say. So now it's down to the 3 remaining defenders of 71st to see if they can prevent any further round bleed. But it seems right now it's just a bit of an issue with just dealing with general kind of pace that ShadowNet has managed to set themselves up with.
Legion Goodmice do come in handy a little bit. They do store down Crips's onslaught, oh so temporarily. Zero Prince is extremely low now. I did see some silent pings come out onto her, which could have indicated some warbanging that was going to happen. Crips has an incredibly strong angle onto that charge site now, which does mean that Weasel is going to be cut off. Minxie, meanwhile, gets that headshot onto Zero Prince, which puts so much pressure onto Weasel once again.
Yeah, well, there's always Crips to also help out with that kind of situation, and already it's all again to Daddy Matty to try to clutch this out. Finds one, nearly finds the second, but unfortunately did not clutch. And, well, just quite an unfortunate turnout for 71st, although, well executed round by ShadowNet.
Yeah, overall extremely well executed by ShadowNet. You know, not a lot of flaws evident in how they're playing. They're playing very strong, they're playing very aggressive as well, which is something that is always a joy to watch. You know, seeing a team that is quite coordinated move with a purpose, that each player knows what to do. You know, as you said earlier, sure, you know, members of ShadowNet might have moments where their momentum stalls, or maybe they revert to a almost solo player style, but it feels like they all have that experience in knowing exactly what their roles are doing. You know, if you're a hard breacher, I'm going to open up the walls. If I'm a flex character, I'm going to make it so that my hard breacher can open up the walls. And if I'm an entry, well, you know, Soy is doing a great job at that, getting those entry kills.
Yeah. Another cool thing is that I noticed that I don't think I've seen ShadowNet play at least this aggressively in their previous matchups, or at least the ones that we've managed to cast. And so, with that said, it is good to see that ShadowNet are able to kind of decide on how how aggressive, or rather how passive can sometimes they want to be. Not comparative. I don't know what is happening with my English today.
It's just not happening.
It's just not happening yet. Look, it's good to see that they know what kind of pace to pick for which team, and the fact that they are able to kind of adjust their aggression based on their opponent's weakness, I suppose, is a really good showcase, which also means that, well, for 71st, this is a pretty solid practice as well for them to try to adapt for some of the rather aggressive play styles that could be thrown at them further down the line.
Yeah, because I actually think, in the past, it has been 71st who have been the more aggressive team when it comes to playing. So, seeing them on the short end of the stick at this point, almost going up against the playstyle that they prefer to play with is a little bit of an eye-opener. Well, it should be a little bit of an eye-opener for them, seeing any flaws in their plan or any way that they can go around that. As I'm just talking, Soy doing those entry fragger things, she gets that initial pick onto Weezer, which is huge because it is going to be your mute player, which also means that there is one less C4 on the board to contend with.
Exactly. That does also mean that, well, no longer would there be also another gun on the board, which is going to be quite a painful thing to deal with, because now all of the reinforcements of 71st are going to be spread thin, although a fantastic play by TikTok will be able to shut down the push by Crib, so that is one of the avenues that has been denied from ShadowNet. And now it's more so of a question, how will, well, let's see, how will Soy really perform here, because she's seeming to be the one to lead the charge on quite a fair amount of rounds. So if Minxie is able to find maybe an opening onto Daddy Maddie, or rather Zero Prince, this could be huge, but it seems that Soy has plans of her own, already gets an opening right on site onto Weasel, or rather Tiktov instead, and now needs to find Zero Prince, who's currently playing right behind those barbells, does spot her head, but could not hit those shots. Rather, it's just a game of blind pre-fires at the moment, and, well, maybe just waiting for Meeps or Daddy Maddie to make a rotation, but neither of them are really planning any of that part, and instead it's just going to be Mons to claim her first kill.
Yeah, and this really opens up the entire site for ShadowNet, for Diana to possibly go for a plant. Daddy Maddie is holding down that bedroom window, but, as it is, Jim is quite free. So I don't know why ShadowNet is peeking this, because Daddy Maddie does manage to get that headshot onto Mons. Diana is going to be going for that plant into Jim, which means that Soy is going to be the one person covering for Diana. Soy is very good at covering and getting the kills, so I don't doubt this shouldn't be a hard task for her. But, it's not a hard task at all, because Soy gets that triple kill, and if she manages to get Meep, it will be a quad kill at this point. Ooh. But Meeps with a beautiful shot onto Soy, up those stairs into a headshot as well, puts a lot of pressure onto Dinah, because now she has to play for the diffuser.
Yeah, Meeps is not particularly knowledgeable about the position of the Hibana player, which could certainly introduce a few issues there. Now, if Meeps will be distracted for a few more seconds, she won't be able to find the clutch, runs into Diana's gun, and, well, that's about all that there is for the first half. ShadowNet on a flawless run for the attack will be solidifying themselves already a match point here against their opponents, who currently are on a point above them on the leaderboard, but it seems like that is going to be no longer a thing after this map.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't seem that way. If ShadowNet carry over the aggressiveness and the decisiveness that they had on attack over onto defense, I don't doubt that this game is going to be quite short.
Yeah, look, we are going to be going on to CCTV and Cash. This time it is going to be ShadowNet to go on to defense. They've already shown us some phenomenal attack and pace control. So now they just need a single round for them to claim the victory, whereas for 71st they have quite a road and quite a tall order to take if they do want to make a comeback here. 6 rounds in a row just to push it into overtime, and then from there on another 2 rounds for them to claim if they do want to win out this map, but certainly looking quite highly unlikely, although we've seen a few attempts at the comeback, so it's not over just yet.
Definitely not over just yet until the very last round, until it says, the victory screen. You really can't count out any other team. So, a little bit curious about the rotation, should I say, onto the garage rafters from CCTV. I have seen some teams do this where they don't actually make quite a full rotation. Instead, they'll just make a line of sight holes, because a lot of the times the person who is holding the rafters position, which will be the Wamai unless the Wamai gets banned out, it is sort of a stay there until you die situation where, because the rafter spot is so impactful, there's really no scenario where you will be rotating out of it unless unless attacker teams go for a construction take, in which case having those line of sight holes should be adequate enough to deny a plant regardless, So, having those holes open, whether it's a rotation or not, it doesn't really change much for a defender.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to agree with you on the Wumai being kind of in the expendable position. So it's certainly interesting to see how some of the teams do make the adaptation. But we just saw the breach by TikTok to see if she can maybe find some of the flank watch onto the rafters whenever the heat is going to be coming around, seeing as this window is going to be the only place for a rotation. So right now it's ShadowNet kind of being a little bit cautious as to whether they want to push around, whether they want to keep holding the angles. Meeps has already managed to make an entry right onto the building, but she is quite unsure if there is any presence in the bar, or if there's going to be any, and just waiting for the live drone to kind of confirm that. So the push will be happening. Minxie, though, is playing from down below, waiting for the push into the blue tunnel, which I don't think will be happening anytime soon. And Crips actually will not be affected at all by that breach, surprisingly enough, which and that's certainly the thing that you kind of want to probably nail down. Finally, the second Ash Charge does come around, but even that does not land at all. And well, that's both of the breaching utility has been utilized. Maddie Daddy, Maddie Daddy. I'm coming up at this point with some new names.
New originals.
Soy already making a return, already claiming her 15th kill, about to claim 16th. She is absolutely unstoppable here. And right now she's the one who's currently pushing her team into the victory. 3v4 situation, as right now the main avenue for 71st to take is to go for a push through the construction site. And finally Soy does get down, but not out just yet. Plenty of flashbangs do come around though, and it's ticked off to find herself some frags as well. And so it needs to be picked up, because right now Crips and Diana are in a bit of a pickle already. As a trade as well, Crips needs to make a rotation to maybe assist her teammate, but instead goes in for the frag, finds Meeps, but cannot find Soy, or rather Zero Prince. And well, there we go, 71st do claim their first round after finally preventing Soy from a flawless game herself.
I think overall, I know 71st haven't really been having the best game tonight, but that was a really great round. In fact, that was one of the better rounds that I have seen from an attacking team on Clubhouse, because they were pressured, don't get me wrong. Things weren't looking good. They had their Ashe player down, they had their Sophia player down. They weren't able to get any of the bandit charges off on that CCTV wall, which normally means it's a little bit of a lose scenario, because what else are you meant to do? You can't get the main breaches open, you can't get garage control, rafters control from that. But they had, almost like instantaneous rotation onto construction. And because ShadowNet was playing so strongly around that CCTV area, they didn't really have any roam control around that bedroom or that construction area, which meant that the attacker take was so much more easier. And they capitalized on that. And because of that, they were able to get around away from ShadowNet.
Yeah, that was a good adaptation. I'll definitely agree with you on that one. 71st slowly seeming to be able to get back into the swing of things. Main question is, how will they be able to keep themselves afloat in that current scenario, as they pretty much not being allowed a single mistake within this match. Otherwise it's going to be quite a loss. And well, looking at the lineup from the defense instead, we do have an introduction of Maestro to be brought on board as well for some more info gathering, I suppose. Whereas on the side of 71st, a decision to bring in a Nomad for Zero Prince to just ensure that there won't be a whole lot of flanking down, and even if there will be plenty of the sound cues as well for that.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the times Legion is a very underrated operator. With his Legion mines, with the recent nerf where he can't really see his mines unless you're in a certain radius, I still believe he's a great operator, because as long as you're aware of where you place your mines, it's not like you're going to forget halfway through the round, oh, something went off, I have no idea where it went off. That's not going to happen. You're going to know that somewhere on your main stairs, perhaps, there is going to be an attacker. As it is, the dirt tunnel is going to be getting opened up relatively quickly, which does place a little bit of pressure onto Diana. It does mean that she won't have that free uncontested dirt tunnel. There isn't going to be a lot of attempt to push down that, however, which is good because it does mean that there is hidden pressure onto Diana. You know, she can't really turn around and really watch blue without that pressure from that dirt tunnel, but at the same time, she needs to watch blue because it's blue tunnel, you know, surely someone would be pushing down it.
Yeah, surely at this point there's going to be some sort of a push, and at the moment, well, yeah, like you said, funnily enough, there wasn't even a single drone coming around for the dirt tunnel, which will be putting Diana at a bit of a questionable position, where it's like, well, there's no information gathered about me, but what am I supposed to do here? Meanwhile, it's Minxie that was able to find a good double impact trick here for herself, which does ensure that the utility of TikTok will be fully extinguished after that hatch, whereas it's now all down to Weasel to go and get the frags in the dirt tunnel, and it seems that actually Diana has... Nope. Didn't really abandon her post. She knows exactly that there is about to be a push. Soy already claims the life of Daddy Matty, and it's Diana that, oh, a bit of an unfortunate timing there, will be going down. So now Soy will have quite some pressure going down on her and Minxie as well, given that there's about to be a gunfight happening in the main stairs, with the fact that Minxie now gotten rid of all the threat that was at the dirt tunnel. It's only a single place that will be having all the push happen, as Miu's just dodging and weaving there, trying to find a gunfight for herself, but it's not happening. Mons is the one to claim that victory. Goes in for another gunfight, claims one, and that is the victory, coming out a 7-1 scoreline by the ShadowNet girl.
Yeah, that round, you know, it definitely looked to be a little bit more difficult for 71st. That was an excellent impact trick coming out from ShadowNet. You know, I did see Crips also instantly rotate after Minxie used her 2 impacts. You know, Crips was ready with her 2 impacts in case maybe the Thermite was going to go for the kitchen hatch as well. So it was an excellent show of prior planning, but at the same time, you really can't discredit Soy with that 17 too. That was an excellent job.
Yeah, that was one way to have a blast of a game. Yeah, Soy pretty much single-handedly was pushing quite a fair few of those rounds into the hands of ShadowNet. So, well played to her, well played to the ShadowNet ladies, and well, that's it for this very matchup. A 7-1, very quick performance by ShadowNet, and well, that should push them up on the leaderboard very firmly to solidify themselves in the 3rd place, if not 2nd, I believe.
Depends how the games for Nocturnal go, I suppose.
Yeah, that's definitely a good question. So we'll need to get back to that one later on. But as it is, this is the first game that has concluded for us. So we are going to be going on a short break just to set things up and get ready for match number 2, as this one could be a very good one as well. So we'll catch you all later. Get some popcorn, get some drinks, and we'll see you after this short break.
Enter into a new dimension of gaming and push your PC to the extreme with uncompromised graphics performance. So compact you have to see it to believe it. The way you play will never be the same.
I'm not thinking about the best way. I'm not thinking about the best way to save them. I'm not thinking about the best way. I'm not thinking about the best way. I'm not thinking about the best way. I'm not thinking about the best way to save them. I'm not thinking about the best way. I'm not thinking about the best way. I think that you should come back home. Come back home.
I've been thinking about you lately, and all the places that you could take me. Why you so shy? You got me going wild. 'Cause I've been saying that you got it, baby, give it to me. See my lightning, you gonna feel my thunder. Show me how you do it, come on baby, say it louder. Got you on my mind now, let me see your style. I'm on my way tonight, oh yeah, yeah. 'Cause I think about you, you. 'Cause I think about what I think about you. I wanted to make you see that you were the one for me, but there was enough 'cause you're up and down and then everything's the same. Baby, how do I make you listen? Don't wanna be through 'cause I wanna put you, baby, you and me tonight. Don't need to behave, gonna take me away, baby. Do it one time. And the thought of you drives me crazy. You don't need to worry, 'cause you know that you got me. Cause I think about you, you. 'Cause I somebody else. Circling the edge, way up high. Don't know if I'll ever have a useful alibi.
Enter into a new dimension of gaming and unlock your gaming experience. Powerful and portable, with uncompromised graphics performance. The way you play will never be the same.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to matchup number 2 of tonight, week 4 of Women's League. Cthulhu and Pi still on the microphone now. Pi, we just seen some pretty dominant performance from ShadowNet, and just about to move into the matchup for Nutty Gaming versus Barry's Bees. Any kind of thoughts about the previous matchup, and how would say the Nutty Gaming matchup could kind of stack up against that one?
Well, coming into it, I think I think it was going to go either way between ShadowNet and 71st. They were both, just to summarize quickly what I said before, but they're both teams who have had stellar performances in the entire women's tourney. We haven't seen them yet face off against each other, but just then we did, which was a really good insight into how ShadowNet could be playing, because in the past, we haven't really seen ShadowNet play that aggressively or play that with that amount of coordination. So to see that coming out from them really, push them up in terms of, my personal beliefs of how well they'll be doing in this entire tournament. And, to carry that over into our next match of, Barry's Bees and
Nutty Gaming.
Nutty Gaming, yep. Little mind blank. I think a similar thing could be shown as well. Both teams are quite evenly matched, and before going into it, it's really either one's game. At this point, we don't really know. It's all about how they adapt their playstyle towards what really works best for them and what, doesn't work.
Right. Well, before we take an even deeper dive on this second matchup, let's have a look at our updated schedule, updated scorelines as well. See how Nocturnal doing as well. Currently, Nocturnal did manage to cop themselves a similar victory to ShadowNet at 7-1. That was done off-stream against Kingswomen, as that does put Nocturnal just about higher than ShadowNet, I believe. So, definitely an interesting setup that is being done here. So, now it's Nutty Gaming versus Barry's Bees. Now, both of these teams haven't been able to really reach the top 4 positions just yet, so maybe this is going to be one of the opportunities for them to take. Now, let's have a look at their rosters as well, and the match itself. Both of these teams have shown us some few good rounds, but for Nutty Gaming, it was a little bit of a rough season, I believe.
Yeah, to look at the roster of Nutty Gaming, it will be Cass, Fallen, Cheesebender, Yoshi, Novawick, and Toki as the sub, and Coach Spags as the coach. I feel like Nutty Gaming have shown us some strong points. Most notably, it would, the one that I can think of at least, it would be Yoshi on that Kali. I feel like 99% of the times when Nutty is on attack, you will see Yoshi on that Kali. And 99% of the times, she will be playing Kali to great effect. It will be quite effective, and she does nab a few frags of her own. But I feel like that's really situational, because against a team who have looked at their VODs, against a team who, possibly bans out Kali in the banning phase, that could really put a wrench into Nutty Gaming's plans, because we haven't really seen Yoshi on any other operator except for Kali. So I really hope it's not the case of if she doesn't get Kali, she won't be able to perform as well.
Yeah, that's a pretty good question to ask here. We'll get that answer somewhat soon, but let's have a look at the contestants against Nutty Gaming. It is going to be Barry's Bees. The roster that has seen a few additions here and there, a few returning faces, and similar to Netty Gaming, had a bit of a rough run, but maybe looking at redeeming that tonight.
Yep, their roster will be Gordon Walkabouts as the team captain, Weird One, Hotto, Devs Natel, the Downfall here, Small Chazza as their first sub, Heart Explodes as their second sub, and Striner as their team coach. So yeah, similar things to what we said before. Barry's Bees haven't had the most stellar performance in this entire season, but then again, neither have Nutty Gaming. So to have two teams who are on the weaker side of the Women's League is going to be a good experience for both of them because, in the past, they probably faced off against really difficult teams in really difficult games where the learning experience has been really tough as well. So to be able to face off against a team who should perform around at the same level as you are, it should make, learning a little bit more easier, and it should make winning all the more enjoyable.
Definitely, yeah. And both of these teams do look fairly stacked well against each one another. So curious to see how that will work out. Let's have a look as well at the map that we are going to be seeing both of these teams battle it out. It is going to be Cafe Dostoyevsky that will be played out, and it will be actually Nutty Gaming to kick things off on the defense. So it is going to be a pretty interesting trial for Barry's Bees as well to see how well they're going to work around their offense and see if they will be able to maybe score themselves an early advantage, or whether it is going to be rather Nutty Gaming to come out victorious for the first half. So I remember you mentioned before as well, getting something like a scoreline of, say, 3-3, maybe 4-2 is a good way, but fair few teams do enjoy ramping up their momentum here. Do you reckon the momentum question could be kind of asked here as well, or do you reckon it is going to be a bit more of a, say, conventional game of just kind of trading blows back and forth?
I think when it comes to two evenly matched teams against a map such as Cafe, which is in a sense a little bit defender-sided, unless as an attacking team you do have that coordination and you do have that practice to take down the stock standard setups that you see a lot of the times on Cafe. Unless you have that practice, I feel like the defenders will definitely be having the advantage. So I wouldn't be surprised, to see maybe a 4-2 or a 5-1 when the round comes to us, or when the map comes to the halfway point. But at the same time, I could be surprised. I could be proven completely wrong, and it could go the other way around.
Yeah, definitely. Now we're just waiting for the R's from one of the teams to say if they are good to go. And yeah, we are going to be going in. Let's have a look at the cafe itself, the snowy, I suppose building, just in the heart of Moscow.
Building.
I was about to say, cafe on the snowy cafe is like, that would have been a repetition and a half. But look, good luck, have fun is coming up for both of the teams as we are going to be kicking things off straight away. I'm not too sure what is Hotto asking there, but yeah, we might have to skip on that one. But anyways, ban phase coming right out. Any kind of thoughts for what we could be possibly seeing? Maybe Thatcher ban, Thatcher Ace, maybe?
I wouldn't be surprised to see the Thatcher ban coming out. And as I'm saying this, yep, there's Thatcher coming right out. A lot of times in the Women's League, we would just see the Thatcher ban. As I said before, he is one of those comfort bans where if he's on the board, it's hard to predict how to play against him. And once he's off, that's something that you play within expectations. So it's not too much of a deal. And speak of the devil, that is going to be the Kali ban, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not aware. Nutty Gaming. That was a good ban, that was definitely a good ban, because there is one specific Kali player who is going to be a little bit targeted right here.
Yeah, well, with that said, we are going to be seeing a mirror ban as well coming right out, and that Kali ban certainly could throw in a spanner in the works of Nutty Gaming. But maybe we shall be given an opportunity for Yoshi to maybe expand her horizons for some of the other operators as well.
As it is, though, there is a lot of operators with deniability being banned off the board. Thatcher, Kali, Cade, they're all almost anti-hard breaching operators, which does mean that when it comes to, you know, possibly when you're trying to deny a hard wall from being opened at this point, there really is only the bandit who can be considered. And, you know, when it comes to the attack, there's not a lot of opportunities that you can get to really take off those bandit charges off the wall, unless you are going to be going for verticality, whether that is the IQ through the floor. You know, speak of the devil, they are going to 6-pick off the IQ. Twitch achieves quite a similar purpose as well, so there's no big difference.
Yeah, the decision to bring in a Twitch is definitely an interesting one, just for the sheer fact that Twitch kind of fell out of the meta overall with the introduction of the Mutant Mozzie combo that pretty much makes Twitch's life quite impossible to really exist continuously. So I'm curious how will that really perform and how will that really work out, because if the Twitch drone works out well, it can really throw a spanner in the work of some of the utilities, some of the setups, especially stuff like ADSs, like the Womai discs, like the even Melusi gadgets to get them disabled for a brief amount of time, and as well as the Valkyrie camera. So plenty of things to really work around there, as well, please don't bully me, we'll be bullying instead the camera. And getting some plentiful amount of information as well. Could potentially have a drone shot out. There we go. And well, that is all that the first Twitch drone was able to achieve. But let's see what will Barry's Bees able to do here, now that they are going to be the ones to go in for the push here.
I'm surprised, you know, there was no aggressive camera that I did see coming out from Cheesebender. A lot of the times when you do see a Valkyrie, they will be going for more aggressive and offensive plays, such as runouts or, you know, jump outs or aggressive flanks. And you achieve that with cameras being placed outside, such as, you know, if there was a camera outside on Weird One right now, someone could be jumping out of train, out of, you know, some door downstairs to be able to capitalize on that. But as it is, you know, the first Valkyrie, or the second Valkyrie camera does get spotted out, seeing as the first one was shot down by the Twitch drone. Yoshi is in a little bit of a tricky situation. She does have a few Womai magnets to help her consolidate her position. But, you know, if the Twitch has anything to say about that, they are going to be taking down those magnets in a relatively fast manner.
Yeah, it felt like that use of the Twitch drones was a little bit underwhelming, given that she could have gotten rid of one of those magnet charges that was right at the ceiling, but alas, she used it for more so just one-time info gathering. And, well, instead, the Weird Ones should still be able to get rid of the ballistic shield, although Kaz has something to say about that portion and gets rid of Hodo, so that is the sledge out of the equation, but that still keeps the Melusi player right down below on the new hatch, or rather now going to hell. Well, does manage to find the frag on downfall here, and well, already a double kill for Kaz. That is a solid beginning.
Yeah, that's a really solid beginning coming out from Nutty Gaming. A little bit of a warning shot does go out onto Weird One. She does get dropped down to half. This is a really strong angle that the defenders have holding. It is going to be Kaz with that triple kill from downstairs. This isn't an angle that she should be winning, but she is.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, yeah, she's able to dominate that whole angle and not really let any kind of push happen. Now, for Golden Walkabouts, she is able to finally find a shot onto Yoshi, but I'm not too sure if she's knowledgeable about the fact that there is one more player currently residing on the white stairs. But it seems that that's not the case. A dual spray down by Nova Wick will be calling it, and well, that's the first round all done and dusted. It's actually quite curious. Oh, that lineup. Oh no. Oh boy.
Against such a fast fire rate vector, that's not the play you want to be taking.
Yeah, definitely. Oh man. Oh well, that is the first round to go into the hands of Nutty Gaming, as they do take pretty comfortable ground there for themselves. Round 2 to go into the kitchen service is going to be the next play, which, I mean, kitchen services almost feels like church and arsenal room with the sheer amount of kind of bunker slash kind of an anchor hold that can be done there with some vertical play that can be introduced to the match as well. Quite a few opportunities for the defenders to really go and play around.
Yeah, I feel like the Kitchener service hold is quite strong in the hands of a defender team who know how to play it. You know, a lot of the times I will see a common error in which all 5 members will bunker down onto site, and a lot of the times that isn't really how you want to be going about it, because a lot of the ceiling of both sites is actually soft, and you know there are hatches leading directly onto the site as well from that freezer. So to be able to really deny any top floor presence is really the play you want to be taking. You know, maybe you have 1 to 2 members actually on site just in case they go for a rush or some fast entrance onto site, but the majority of players should be playing above, denying any form of control that they can get with that verticality. So to not see any play from that is going to be a little bit risky from Nutty Gaming, I would say, but I mean, it's not undoable.
Yeah, we've seen a fair few teams that were able to defend their positions pretty well, even from a kind of a one-dimensional defense. So not everything is lost here, but it's certainly going to be quite a challenge if there's not going to be any presence up on the second or third floor. It seems that Fallen Prestige actually did decide to actually make a rotation and start a play up from the second floor, which could be a good beginning, but without a whole lot of help from her teammates, things could really get rowdy for her very quickly. So curious if that is going to be the play. Funnily enough, actually, the Twitch was able to get rid of the bandit charges, so that is going to be a grand beginning, given that Hotto did bring an ace. So the moment she gets over to the garage area, it's pretty much a fully opened up window of the opportunity for the push, but Cass does very quickly redeem that position and is waiting for that Twitch drone to come around. At just the worst moment though, does bail out from that position, and well, that is one of the walls that will be pretty much prepped and ready for the breaches. It seems that though Hotto is having a few issues, deciding to take a little bit of a longer approach rather than just going straight to the garage.
Yeah, Fallen Prestige is in a little bit of a tricky angle right now for the attackers to really flush out. She is being protected on all sides by that train carriage, but at the same time it does mean that she is being trapped on all sides by that train carriage. So if she's not careful about how she moves, she could be in a spot of trouble. But she manages to get Gordon Walkabouts, who wasn't really aware of her position, it seems like. And she is actually going to get a double kill onto Please Don't Bully Me before Weavon manages to finish her off, which is not the start that Barry's Bees want to be going for.
Not at all. This was starting up really well there for Barry's Bees, especially with the fact that they were able to get rid of those bandit charges that Cass had there. And with the fact that even now, that whole wall is pretty much all ready and prepped to be open, as well as the hatch. It seems that it was a little bit of a misplay there. But alas, well, the breach is a breach, and we should be all good for now, as Hotto does open up a few avenues. I'm not too sure what happened there with the camera, but we are back now.
We're back and ready for more action.
Oh, yes.
As it is, the catch onto Freezer is going to be opened up, as well as some of the walls onto that red hallway. But Yoshi, through an angle on the floor, manages to get the downfall here, and this is definitely not looking good for Barry's Beast. Cass getting her own pick onto Weird One, and it is just going to be Hotto getting that kill onto Yoshi, but she drops that bomb. I don't think she knows that... Oh, that was a weird animation. I don't think she knows that she can't plant in the freezer, so you know, for those of you who are wondering, you do have to leave that freezer area before you are able to plant that bomb. You could plant it very close to the door, but as it is, it was smoked out by Cheesebender, which meant that it was all the more difficult.
Yeah, a bit of an unfortunate misplay there from Barry's Bees in the attempts to get the plan down. Well, didn't really get a whole lot of traction going for themselves, so that's a second round to go into the hands of Nutty Gaming, as they're slowly but surely kickstarting their momentum to run here. Reading Room and Fireplace will be the next place for the play, and I'm already spotting a very peculiar pick from Hotto, as it seems that she's the one who's actually experimenting with some of them, but instead it's an attempt to hide the ace pick.
Yeah, I feel like, Cheesebender definitely had the more impactful 6 pick just then. Going from a Caviera into a Valkyrie is always going to be a little bit scary for the attackers, because Caviera is one of those picks where surely, like, you know, they don't actually go through with it because Caveira is seen as a little bit of a niche pick at this point. But at the same time, you can't really discount the fear factor that they possibly might have a Caveira at the same time. So it does mean that you will need to spend a little bit of extra time to really properly drone out all your corners, just in case, you know, Caveira is on the board.
Yeah. Although I'll have to say that the decision to switch out from Nook to Ace is more so just a utility decision, because with Nook, especially after the most recent patch, she does have the secondary hard breach device, so theoretically if you say lose, go on walkabouts, you still have the ability to get the breach going. Although for reading, it's not as impactful, although maybe getting rid of this wall out that is looking out into the pillars area will be good. But apart from that, there's not much, at least on the second floor, to be done breaching wise, minus like the third floor, the usual breaching into the piano, and then maybe the cocktail lounge, which funnily enough is not even reinforced at all. Like, as a matter of fact, not a single piece minus the hatch has actually been reinforced.
Yeah, a lot of the times, you know, you will see the defenders play more towards the cocktail balcony side. There won't be a lot of cigar presence when it is a reading room hold, purely because to really effectively hold down that cigar, or that piano room, you really need to have a deployable shield onto that pixel angle to enhance the difficulty of, you know, breaching through that room. And you also really want some of my magnets or some Jaeger ADSs to help with the projectiles. But, oh, some warning shots going out on Please Don't Bully Me, and I believe, I think it was Cass who actually managed to do that damage. And it is going to be Cass who gets that diffuser down as well. Gorn Walkabout's dropping, and it is going to be that Thermite being the first pick.
Yeah, that's a huge pick here for the defense, being able to trade out just a little bit of health for a Thermite. Now that is a good beginning for a round. Now Cheesebender and Cass are going to be the ones to just try to keep on holding out their position. There's not a whole lot of pressure on the windows, but instead it's already a full-blown drop down. Weird one, fantastic headshot. If only she knew that there was another person behind the wall, could have gone for a very nutty pre-fire as well. But it seems that right now maybe we might be seeing the revival of Barry's Bees if another kill does come through onto Cass, because she was the one who kept on spearheading quite a few plays there during the second and first round, but seems that weird one could not really hit those shots, and instead it's a bit of actually a hunt, and Please Don't Bully Me actually does manage to find a shot onto a Cass. So now it's all down to Fallen Prestige, Yoshi, and Novaweek to try to get the plays going, as right now most of them are actually hunkered around the site.
There is a little bit of a strong positioning coming out from Fallen Prestige. I did see that she was on a bookshelf, which does mean that if someone does walk through those pillar doors, she could be able to nab a free kill just like that. It looks like it doesn't happen quite yet, but there are angles being opened up on the floor by Hotto and by all the attackers, you know, the vertical angles, which is what you really want to be taking. Fallen Prestige does actually manage to do a little bit of damage, but you know, getting those smokes out means that Yoshi won't be able to get that line of sight to use those feet holes to deny the plant. And the downfall here, going for such a strong and aggressive push straight onto site. She does need to get that bomb down. There are lesion mines in her foot, but it doesn't matter because the attackers, Barry's Bees, are just going to frag out and kill everyone.
There we go. Finally, Barry's Bees do manage to break the 2-round streak that so far Nutty Gaming were able to ramp up for themselves, and that is a very good push as well, gotta say. Managed to open up all the needed positions for them to force out a few of the defenders, and that's all that they really needed. So Byron Cocktail will be the next place to going for the attack, and last time we saw that to be played, we saw Kaz actually pick up a fair few really nice frags for herself. So curious if she would be able to achieve that very thing again. Well, Rez, we do have a very furious pick. I'm holding my breath for this one, just waiting if it's actually going to come through. No, okay, so instead it's going from one peculiar one to another. It is going to be a blitz picked from Finka. Sorry,
protect your bombs from being
Finka
used by attackers.
instead of blitz. There we go. We made it at the end.
I
swear I'm not drunk.
I sure hope you're not, Cthulhu, otherwise, you know, that was a sick invite. a lot of the times, we really don't get to see a Finka being picked purely because, sometimes she could actually work against your team if you don't really give your team the proper warning that you are about to use an adrenaline surge. For someone with a high amount of recoil in their gun, for example, if Downfall here on Sledge was actually holding her SMG-11 instead of her primary, she could be pulling down expecting that usual SMG recoil. Instead, that adrenaline surge comes in and she'll just pull straight to the ground.
Attacker's objective is
Yeah, that's a huge thing as well, to think about. A fair few actually players did complain about the random surges coming around and just completely throwing off the whole recoil pattern. So the next moment you see you instead of aiming at the enemy, aiming at your own toes, trying to yank the the recoil as hard as possible. So yeah, that's definitely a very valid thing. But another thing that we just missed out as well, Finka is actually bringing in the secondary hard breach device. So now theoretically, Barry's Bees have 3 different players that could do the hard breach.
I think that's really good adaptability on Barry's B's point of view. A little bit of damage does come out onto Yoshi. Oh, that repel on that white window. That was an excellent choice by Gorn Walkabouts, managing to pick off the Wamai so early on, which does mean that Pixel will most likely be a relatively easier task to take than before, because there aren't going to be any Wamai magnets. In fact, scratch that. There isn't going to be anyone on Pixel at this point.
Exactly, and the funny thing is that Cass is still going to be playing downstairs, but I don't think at this point deciding to actually drop down the new hatch rather is going to be a good decision. There we go, already a breach happening on the red stairs, and full attempt at take is gonna come out. Weird One still feeling a little bit concerned about any kind of positions. Knows that there's not going to be any Wamai devices, nor the Jaeger devices, nor any presence, and puts in the impact charge there. So, good beginning overall for Barry's Bees, but they still need to take control of the side, and well, that breach should most definitely ensure that very thing. Although last time we did see Novawig pick up a nice double kill at the end, I don't think that will be granted to her very quickly. Please Don't Bully Me was able to get rid of the roam by Kaz, so now it's all down to the anchors. And last time we saw the anchors attempt to go in for the defense, they weren't really able to pick up a whole lot of frags. So now it's down to Novawig and Fallen Prestige.
There is a Goyo shit that is going to be able to stall the onslaught from White Stairs, but it doesn't matter because that adrenaline surge is going to be coming through, and it is going to be Weird One picking up that final kill to make it a flawless round for Barry's Bees. This is a huge comeback. I definitely didn't expect this coming through, especially a flawless round at that after the first 2 rounds that Barry's Bees showed us. But these last 2 rounds that Barry's Bees have showed us on attack are really something else. It feels like they've really, thought about their strategy. They've really revamped it and adapted to how Nutty are playing, and they're going really well at it.
Yeah, that's a huge thing here for Barry's Bees. The adaptation is certainly working out really well here for them. So now they just need to keep up, ramping up their pushes really, because they seeming to be able to nail most of their adaptations, most of their gunfights. Big props as well to Gorn Walkabouts for going for a few entry kills as a thermite nonetheless. So no, overall definitely well done to them. Whereas for Nutty Gaming, it seemed that they have kind of gotten the element of surprise on a few of those plays, but the moment Barry's Bees kind of caught up to the usual shenanigans, it doesn't look like Nutty Gaming have any kind of, quote-unquote plan B to really respond or make any kind of adjustments here on the go.
Yeah, I feel like, the first few rounds that Nutty was able to capitalize off on, it was purely because they were able to get those unsuspecting frags down, especially onto, Gorn Walkabouts, the Thermite, or any other impactful attacker operator. So it was almost a little bit by chance that they were able to reduce the threat of the attackers. But in these last 2 rounds, we did see Barry's Bees really tighten up on how they were playing. They even brought in Finka with that secondary hard breach, just in case the Thermite got taken out early as well, which shows that they are adapting. It shows that they are learning from their mistakes. Admittedly, I would have possibly liked to see maybe the Thermite play a little bit less aggressive, or maybe have a little bit more flank drones up so that your life wouldn't be lost like that. But an adaptation like that is still something.
Definitely. Well, Ready. No time is being wasted already. A drop down on the red stairs will be indicating that Barry's Bees will be beginning their push on the 3rd floor. Nothing will be there to really contest, but Falling Prestige now switching from one train cart to another will attempt to hold her position in the train right above the site. Does spot one of the drones that will be droning out her position, and I believe actually the pings were coming out onto Cass, so not a whole lot of information theoretically apart from the fact that just Bandit is playing on side, which is at this point fairly expected, given that Cass was more so going for a late moment roam previously. Here now between Fallen Prestige and the rest of Barry's Bees, there is going to be an attempt to wedge out the Jaeger without missing out on a whole lot of gunfights, so if that does work out, this could be huge, but right now there's just a whole lot of angles to be contested here without really any kind of response back from Fallen Prestige.
It's good that Barry's Bees is looking to go for more of a pincer attack onto Fallen Prestige. And the last time that they tried to take down Fallen Prestige in those train carts, there was almost a little bit of a stack up of heads going through that fireplace. But at this point, they are going for a full pincer attack from north, south, east, west, and above at this point. So I really don't envy the position that Fallen Prestige is in. A lot of damage goes into Fallen Prestige, but not enough to take her down. Even a Jackal scanner comes out, and Fallen Prestige is just one bullet away from calling it.
Ooh, but there is a very good coordination from Kaz as well to C4 Weird One very quickly, so at the very least it's a trade between the two teams. Oh, Hotto, no, nearly gets this shot onto the Goyo as well, but could not hit that bean onto Novawig. Throws out a panic Selma charge, which won't be sticking at all, and that is actually all of her Selma charges all done and dusted, so now she needs to go in for just pure fragging, which Novawig could potentially punish her with that C4 flying out. That is done and dusted on that push. Please don't bully me though. Does make a return here, finds a frag, couldn't find another one. It's going walkabouts, no, getting a team kill, nearly finds another one onto the sledge. The time is running out and this is all just about to be falling apart, and Novawig is the one to get the final kill. Oh my sweet baby Jesus, what happened there?
It was one of those classic scenarios where, you don't have enough time, so you're going to go for a frag out onto site, but oh no, your teammate just looks exactly like the enemy in that case, and when you're going for frags like that, you really don't have the luxury of time to be aiming down your sights and going, okay, yeah, that's an ally. You're just going to be shooting, and in that case, it was just extremely unlucky that that was a teammate.
Yeah, a bit of a, maybe a roid rage moment there. As, and getting a little bit of a tunnel vision to try to just find some kills at this point. But look, unfortunate turnout. Still, though, very workable for Barry's Bees. So is for Nutty Gaming. They were able to punish Barry's Bees really well off that mistake. So overall, well done. And now we are going to be going on the final round of the first half to see how will the scoreline actually stack up here, whether it's going to be a 4-2 scoreline in favor of Nutty Gaming or whether it's going to be Barry's Bees to actually equalize the round count here.
I think all in all, this has been one of our more closer matches where, it hasn't been incredibly attacker-sided, it hasn't really been incredibly defender-sided. In fact, we've seen more of a, one of those round swaps where, one team gets 1 round, the other team gets 2 rounds, the other team gets 2 rounds. It's just a little bit of a back and forth little tussle.
Yeah, the tussle is certainly there. It's definitely a much closer scoreline comparative, and even the rounds themselves do end up getting quite close comparative to even, say, the Shadownet versus 71st, where it kind of felt like, for the most of it, Shadownet were pulling ahead for the most of it, and just 71st being unable to kind of find any kind of responses for all of those pushes. So here it's definitely a better matchup here, it seems, as Cheesebender sitting around in the cigar shop could potentially throw off a few of the attackers, but it seems that it's a bit of a trade actually coming around. Skaz does manage to go on walkabouts before, or rather after go on walkabouts, find the kill into Novawig. So bit of a trade out between Goyo and the Thermite, so that does certainly hurt there for Barry's Bees, as well as that with the fact that Please Don't Bully Me are now gone. no longer they will have the quote-unquote infinite drones as well as the frag grenades, so 3v4 is well in place.
Yeah, I feel like, Nutty is definitely coming out on top of these trades. Cass, with that aggression, is going to be going for, those impactful kills, especially on that Thermite as well, which does mean that Hodo needs to stay alive in this instance. But the punch hole coming out from Yoshi is going to net her a kill, and oh, that is not how you want to be going out, which puts Barry's Bees in such a difficult position. They have 2 players still on the roof, a minute 30 still left in the round, but all of your teammates are pretty much dead.
Yeah, that's it, and between Hodo and Downfall here, it's going to be quite a tall order to play out a 2v4. Still, though, they do have some time to, well, to maybe go for a few frags before the round ends and go for a few rotations, but at the moment, Hodo opens up a nice scoreline, does manage to find one. There is, though, Cheesebender that is currently playing in the cigar shop, and Hodo is completely oblivious to that position. Finds, though, the Valcam at the very least, but is completely oblivious to the position of the Valkyrie player. The few pre-fires are coming around, but it's a battle of just, who can hit more shots here, and neither of them can actually do that. Cheesebender, though, does come out more so victorious here with the health that she was left on comparative to Hodo, and Hodo right now is in a little bit of a panic state here in hopes of trying to maybe find one more frag. You could potentially find Kaz, does go in for the spray down, but find that shot. It's Kaz and needs to maybe find the shot here.
Hodo is definitely not in a good position. I was going to say she's getting pinched from the bottom of A stairs, she's getting pinched from the top of red stairs. It's definitely not a position to be envied, but it is going to be Kaz getting that final kill onto Hodo, cleaning up the round, which does mean that the round is going to swap at a 4-2.
Yeah, 4-2 scoreline. Nutty Gaming were able to make a bit of a comeback here in their favor once we got to the final 2 rounds, and well, nicely done. Pushing themselves into the advantage is certainly going to be sorting themselves out pretty well, but now comes the question of how well can they perform on the attack, and whether will Barry's Bees play out a much stronger game on the defense rather than being on offense and having to dictate the pace of the game.
I do want to call out real quick, the 6th pick on Gone Walkabouts from something that is quite, meta from the Go-Go to something that isn't really meta, which is the Oryx. A lot of times you don't see Oryx being picked purely because, you are sacrificing a defender operator with great utility, such as a Go-Go in that case, with his, fire shields as well as a C4, whereas Oryx is really all about your game sense, how much intel you do have, which, I will admit with the Valkyrie player on the board could be a lot of intel that you can capitalize on. But there are a lot of hatches to play from on the cafe building, so it really could be impactful if you don't have the appropriate drones or the appropriate air jabs being set up. Gone Walkabouts could have free reign, jumping between all the hatches from bottom to top.
Yeah, that's a very interesting note, by the way. Yeah, you're definitely making a very good point here. Gone Walkabouts could have pretty much the whole map as a playground if she wishes to do so, and a few rotation points, which could also be very safe as well for her to make a rotation. Say, for example, from the 2nd floor, from the laundry to the cocktail lounge, or whether whenever there's a late flank and maybe go straight through the piano, which I don't think will be allowed further down the line, but theoretically she could still get a drop and on some of the late pushes, so certainly I think that could be in mind here for the Oryx player.
The downside, of course, is that there isn't going to be a deployable shield that is going to be bought by Barry's Bees, which means a lot of the times, all that pressure you have in Cigar Lounge, or as people like to call it, piano, isn't going to really be there, because whoever plays in that pixel area won't have a shield to hide behind, which means that spot is going to be so much less impactful, which means that the correct choice is to give it up and not to peek it, because you will be taking a lot of damage if you do, and Vid1, learns the hard way, does take a little bit of damage, but still manages to trade out a little bit. No impactful frags do come out, but, both parties are a little bit, how should I put this, stressed.
Yeah, it's Certainly going to be a stressful situation now that quite a fair bit of ground has been given away. Funnily enough, actually, we do see some attempts at the roam clear as Please Don't Bully Me is able to find a shot onto Fallen Prestige and gets traded out momentarily by Kaz. So that was a pretty good trade overall. And now looking at the whole setup right now, well, the breaches are starting to happen, but Barry's Bees are still yet to find some good workable frags. Just as I say that, Cheesebender does pick up a kill to go on walkabout. So now it's down to the last three members of the defense, and right now Barry's Bees certainly have quite a task ahead of them, although it's only a single player disadvantage.
Yeah, although it's a single player disadvantage, I would still like to say, you know, with a Maestro on the board with 81 bullets in your LMG like that, it's almost like you're playing for 3 people because you have 3 times the bullets to play with. And that Melusi is just going to be so impactful because it is going to be Weird One with those 81 bullets managing to get a double kill.
Yeah, but that does leave Weird One with barely any HP, although that doesn't matter. Hotto frags out, gets the kill into Cheesebender, so it's all down to Noblewick on full health to try to frag out, get 3 frags in a matter of 10 seconds, which does look quite highly unlikely as right now so many crossfires being held. A swing does come around, but it's Weird One to claim her 3rd kill, and well, that is all that could be said about that round. It is Barry's Bees who make the work here for themselves and, well, push the scoreline just a little bit closer.
Yeah, you know, once again, this is definitely one of the closer games that we had. This is literally rounds being traded one after the other. Each team is able to almost adapt to how the other team is playing, you know, go for maybe a different play style, maybe play to something unpredictable. I didn't see the RX flank work to a huge effect, so I am still a little bit curious to see if they will repeat that performance. But overall, that was a great show.
Yeah, definitely. Gotta say, the fact that there was a 2-player roam up on the 2nd floor to ensure that no fishy business would be conducted right below the site was definitely a really good call there by Barry's Bees, and worked out for the most of it. Curious how will this hold really be performed here, given the fact that, well, Lucy is being introduced back into the roster like she was in the previous round. And that pick did definitely net at least a frag there for Weird One, who was able to find a distracted ace that was played by Yoshi and take her down. So looking here, this is looking like a pretty standard kind of almost kind of turtle hold with the introduction of Castle to the roster of the operators, but Downfall's position could be a bit more expendable, or maybe she's just going to rotate through the walk-in coat hanger and just play it from there, which is not a bad idea either.
ADS up and running.
Yeah, it's a little bit interesting about the castle placements. A lot of the times, you know, to use the castle barricades really effectively, you do want to place them in chokes and you want to have rotations open for the defenders so that they're actually able to capitalize on that. So it's not really like a no-way stream where no one can go through. You really want to make it so that it's a one-way stream just for defenders. But obviously, you know, I can't really say how successful it's going to be until we actually see it in play, because for all I know, it could be entirely successful.
Yeah, definitely. Now, we do see Yoshi already starting to go in for a few openings on the floor and the reading, whereas Downfall here still has not been spotted, and if there is going to be any kind of pings, this should be the call for Downfall here to go in for the push. She still has, funnily enough, another Banshee device in her pocket, so she just might be able to find one. Oh no. Fires a shot that does notify Yoshi of the position, and well, rightfully so, a gunfight does erupt. It's Kaz to actually kick things off with a grenade, and that does get rid of Gone Walkabouts pretty quickly.
Yeah, a little bit of a trigger discipline down, you know, maybe not firing instantly until you have your shot confirmed, but that doesn't matter because an impact is going to be flying out from the Downfall here, and she will be getting that headshot onto Yoshi. Can she get that double kill to connect it? There is still 3 more players in that mining site, so a little bit of a warning shot does go on onto Downfall there, but she does go in for a repick. Meanwhile, it is going to be Novawick getting that headshot onto Hotto, which does mean that the man count will be even out a little bit.
Yeah, More so now in favor of Nutty Gaming, given that now it's a 3v4 situation. Please Don't Bully Me will be playing around just outside the big bakery in that connector room, and won't be actually finding a single frag, as it seems like it's a full mass exodus to try to go in for the push through the garage and onto the freezer wall, which is completely unguarded and will require Barry's Bees to start making rotations towards the freezer, which is fairly close by, but nonetheless they will need to prepare a few crossfires, which now need to happen because it's only going to be Weird One to actually hold the pixel angle, where the Thermite is just about to go in for the peak, but not a single bit of health will be lost. Instead, it's Kaz to find the frags here. Fallen Prestige to double down as well, and it's all up to Weird One to try to make the play, but it's Cheesebender actually close out the round.
Yeah, that was a really good push coming out from Nutty Gaming. You know, they had a push in mind and it didn't really work, so they quickly rotated for another directional push, and it was a lot more effective because, you know, all of the attention from Barry's Bees was on the first direction that Nutty was going to push from, which was going to be the top-down bakery push. But instead, you know, rotating out to that freezer site really caught a lot of them off guard, and they weren't really able to keep up in terms of the refrags, and that was ultimately how they lost the round.
Exactly. It seems that the coordination that was in the round 7, sorry, quick maths didn't really work there. In round 7, the coordination seemed to have vanished from there. So, look, maybe here for reading room defense,
Need to locate and
this
defuse
could
as
be
many bombs
done
as
much
they can.
better. But I'm more so looking at that decision by Hotto to bring in the Capcan, given that theoretically this could work out pretty well. Those traps can be quite deceiving a few times, and if you're not really keeping an eye out for the bottom of the doorways, you could really mess up a fair few operators' lives. So I would be expecting at least a few health bars to be dropped down by 60% halfway down the round, and maybe that could really help Barry's Bees to actually swing the favor into their side, although the round differential is still on 2.
5 seconds.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, when it comes to a straight up clutch in the last few seconds, when you're versing an attacker who is missing 60 health from their health bar, that's a huge advantage that, you know, you'd be silly to pass up against. So having a Capcan, especially if Hotto isn't being spotted out on the drones, could be huge for Barry's Bees, because, you know, Nutty Gaming don't actually have an IQ either, so there really will be no indication that there is a Capcan, unless obviously Hotto gets spotted out on a drone, or there is some careful droning on Nutty's side, which will allow them to see the Capcan traps.
Don't Bully Me now are waiting for the right sound cue to maybe go in for a surprise C4 on the hatch, but it seems that the hatch is just about to be breached right above her. Yoshi could have caught out the rotation of the Valk, but he couldn't really find that shot. So instead, it's just Valk that is now going to be residing around in the piano room in hopes of maybe finding some few late frags before bailing out back to the site.
That was still a lot of time that is being wasted by Please Don't Bully Me, you know. Just because she was spotted out in that position, you know, with quickly evacuating like that, I don't think Nutty Gaming is aware that she did run back, you know, all the way back to site. So they would still be carefully droning out all of this piano area, all of the White Hall area, and that would take a lot of time away from the attacking push that they do want to be carrying out.
Definitely. Well, Cheesebender actually has a plan of her own to find the shot onto go on walkabouts, giving her a taste of her own medicine with the thermite kills. But the Valkyrie of Please Don't Bully Me does manage to make a rotation, although that was a very long shot from the brown stairs, about to run into the or rather the Zoff, and Fallen Prestige does, well, indeed fall. As now it's a 3v4, as all of a sudden Nutty Gaming's push has been thwarted very quickly without any kind of hesitation. A bit of a trade out needs to happen here, but no, Yoshi just misses out on those shots. That is not how you want that gunfight to end, because Weird One is still very much alive and still ready to frag out, even with barely any HP. Pre-fire is there for Downfall to get rid of Kaz, and now it's all down to Yoshi to pull off a miracle here.
Yeah, Yoshi is definitely not in a good position. She doesn't have that bomb in her hands, and she is being pinned out by Weird One at this point, you know, which opens Barry's Bees up to maybe possibly flanking up Red Stairs to get a pincer onto Yoshi while she's in that engagement with Weird One. As it is, Yoshi is going to be pulling back. She's still checking her flank corners just in case there is going to be a flank. There is still an air jab down on Red Stairs, which should give her a little bit of a warning if anyone on Barry's Bees does decide to go for a flank. Weird One is tucked in the corner of bar right now, and Yoshi doesn't know that Weird One is there, and Weird One will be able to get that headshot onto Yoshi.
There we go. Round 9 does conclude in favor of Barry's Bees, and well, we just a few more rounds away from potentially maybe going into overtime as well, as that is a thing that could very much happen here. Bar and Cocktail Lounge defense will now need to happen, as last time it was a victory for Barry's Bees, so could potentially be able to even things out here on the scoreline for themselves. They do come out victorious here. Going Walkabout's pick of Vigil feels like a good decision, although I was about to say it is going to be a 6th pick, and still trying to force an Oryx now. I am still a little bit questioning that decision, I feel.
I mean, I feel like we didn't get to see the full potential of going to Walkabouts on Oryx the first time that she did go as Oryx. So I feel like, you know, we can't be too hasty in making a decision there. Sure, Oryx is a very niche pick, but they are taking the right route around it. They are going for a 6th pick onto Oryx, which does give them a little bit of leeway. Hopefully, you know, Nutty Gaming isn't really aware that there is an Oryx. And if they are, hopefully, you know, they don't have enough drones to really spot her out. And if they do drone her out, that just means less drones to drone out the actual objective.
That is true. That is a good point there. Oh. Curious as well, how will Yoshi really utilize her twist drone as well, because last time twist drone was kind of a bit of a hit and miss really with some of its use, so potentially the twitch here of Yoshi could make the difference, although maybe, just maybe, we might be also seeing some hog plays from Going Walkabouts if she's able to maybe ram into somebody with the shoulder charge. That is probably the most satisfying thing to actually do with Ori. Just whenever you're able to just hide yourself and then all of a sudden you just bulldozer somebody before they even know they're dead.
the good old bulldoze and a knife strategy.
Or that, yeah. Miss the dash and, well, you pretty much just open yourself up for to be pretty much an open target to be shot at.
That feeling when you miss the dash and you're like, ah, yes, something is not quite right here.
Ah, yes, I'm dead now.
You just see your life flash before your eyes as you run past the attacker. You're like, I don't know what I'm doing either. But in the meantime, it is going to be Please Bully Me with that first opening pick onto Nova Wick, which is going to be the Nomad. I don't believe any air jabs were actually placed, and if they were, they would have been air jabs outside. That didn't really do the trick because, you know, there is still one air jab on Red Stairs. It is a little bit of a late air jab, I do want to point out. I did see her place it there earlier as well. A lot of the times when you do place an air jab, you want to place it a little bit further down Red Stairs, so you have a little bit more of a warning when a defender does come up. But, you know, an air jab is still an air jab and it's better than nothing.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. Please Don't Bully Me is trying to maybe find a few frags, maybe get some damage going before she makes any pushes, but we'll be caught off guard there by the Nomad charge, but there is nobody there to emphasize on that play, and instead Yoshi just tries to bolt for that push, but instead won't be able to find a frag there at all. But with that said, full control of the Red Stairs is established, although with quite some uncertainty as to where did the Valkyrie go.
Yeah, and I feel like this is an example of a really well done flank or a really well done roam. It is, you know, someone who is able to maybe get a little bit of a warning shot, maybe some damage down, or even possibly in the best case scenario, a kill in this case. But the most important thing is to waste the time of the attackers. But I guess it doesn't really matter because it is going to be Fallen Prestige with that lower angle on pillars, putting in some damage and getting her own kill onto Gone Walkabouts.
Going Walkabouts being taken out once again as the first person on the side of Barry's Bees to die is certainly not the best case scenario here, as Please Don't Bully Me tries to maybe find a few shots here, but it's cast to actually catch a few of the defenders off guard. Another fantastic peek by Barry's Bees will be ensuring that the player advantage is well and truly in favor of the defense. And oh my goodness, a very clean sweep there by Barry's Bees to ensure that we go on a draw here.
Yeah, that was a really well done comeback coming out from Barry's Bees. And I believe this is one of the first times in Women's League that we, or at least in this season, that we do have an overtime that is going to be taking place. So I am quite keen to see, two evenly matched teams to face off against each other, because at this point, even I have no idea who's really going to be coming out on top.
Yeah, well, we still actually have a couple more rounds before we will be deciding whether there will be an overtime, but it's certainly looking like it's might just be in place here, given how close both of these teams are playing against each one another. This round will definitely be deciding as to who will be going into the next the round after with an advantage. So potentially here maybe
and defuse bombs.
we shall be seeing Barry's Bees on potential victory, given the fact that actually last time we went for a kitchen defense by Barry's Bees, it was Nutty who won it. So maybe here it could be a repetition, but again, I'm certainly not sure about whether it is going to be Nutty's win or whether it's going to be Barry's Bees win, because both of these teams are certainly not making it any easier for us to predict whether which one will be the right outcome.
Yeah, I definitely want to say, even if we don't actually see an overtime come in play, this is still hands down, one of the closest games that we've ever had, I believe, in Women's League in general, because these rounds are literally going back and forth. Possible overtime coming in play, we can't really predict that yet, but these teams are so evenly matched when it comes to skill, when it comes to gunfight, when it comes to adaptability, and it really just shows how much both teams have improved actually over the course of this game just by itself.
Yeah, it's huge to see few of the improvements that are being made kind of on the go. Now here's a cool engagement that could be done here. Weird One is about to come around and help reinforce the position of Don't Bully Me, which, a bit of a misplay there, right into Yoshi's sights. Will be ensuring the early frag, but that is not what you want right now, especially as a player of Barry's Bees who just started making a comeback here.
Yeah, I'm a little bit curious about Please Don't Bully Me's train of thought. There was a drone that was actually being droned in from that window, so surely, you would expect at least one person to be outside those windows. And normally, when you have one person droning, there is going to be another person that is going to be chasing right after that drone, so a little bit of a misplay coming out from Barry's Bees. But Weird One is still alive, which does mean that there is a little bit of pressure on the board for Nut-E, which does mean that they need to be a little bit more aware of the drones they have watching the flank. But Weird One getting that first kill onto Fallen Prestige is very well done frag. But Cass, once again, with those frag grenades, able to net her own kill herself.
Exactly. Well, already it is a 3v4 situation. Hotto, Weird One, and Downfall here will need to accomplish quite a huge play here if they do want to come out victorious. Cass nearly catches the rotation of Hotto from that position. The castle player will get to wait out for just a few more minutes before the round round concludes. Weird One is still really tagged up, so she will need to be extra cautious about her gunfights, because otherwise she could get shut down very quickly. It seems that right now Nutty Gaming has taken a pretty confident control of the bakery, and up next is going to be the kitchen to be taken here, as Downfall is trying to get a few shots in just to kind of fend off the attackers, but so far it seems that it's at least partially working.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's working, but Weird One playing from that VIP area is going to be having that strong angle onto Yoshi, and meanwhile Nova Wick on that kill onto the Downfall here. The bomb does get started, it is getting placed by Cheesebender, and Cass is covering this plant, which does mean that the defenders need to be on their toes to really deny this plant, but it is just going to be Weird One and Hotto going in for a retake. Their options aren't really a lot because none of the rotations have really opened up. There are a few soft walls here and there, and there is a castle barricade that can show your feet, which is not where you want to be. This is looking like a very difficult retake for members of Barry's Bees because there's so many members of Nut-E to be able to take down first.
Yeah, well, there's already quite an angle being set up by Cheesebender, who unfortunately could not hit the shots there. Weird One opens up, actually gets another one, but oh, unfortunately for Weird One, she did down Hodo as well, and well, that is all that could be done there. Nutty Gaming do take the match point.
Yeah, Nutty Gaming on that kitchen server site is showing to be a force to be reckoned with. They are quite adept at taking control of it, you know, taking the vertical angles first, getting that bomb down as well, and getting that, you know, hold onto site was really what they needed to really push that map into possibly a match point or an overtime.
Yeah, this is just only one round remaining, and Reading is going to be the next place to go in for the push. Last time it was played out, it was Barry's B's win here, so yeah, we'll have to see if that could be done, repeated here by Barry's B's to push it into overtime. Otherwise, Nutty Gaming could really claim the dub here, so we'll have to see if that will be the case here. A few setups looking here. The introduction again of Capcan by Hodo could potentially grant her some passive damage here. I am curious though whether that addition of the Melusi and the ADS stacked on the eastern entrance onto the second floor would really pay off, because usually we do see a push either through the say the machinery or maybe through the garage and the white stairs, so maybe not the best decision to put the utility there, but maybe this could work out if there's going to be any kind of eastern push.
I mean, if there's a careful way of which Barry's Bees are alternating where they put their Melusi gadgets and where they put their Capcan traps, they could effectively cover, you know, all sides of the objective. They could cover everything approaching from the west, everything approaching from the east, and really have all their grounds covered. So it really, you know, hopefully they don't double up on these traps, obviously, because both these traps serve to have the same effect, which is to delay the onslaught of the attackers, or at the minimum provide some audio cue that there is an attacker nearby, whether they shoot the gadget or whether they explode the gadget, in which case either way there should be a little bit of a warning sign.
Yeah, definitely needs to be, well, also a warning sign probably from Novawick as well, who just unfortunately missed out on that Candela charge. They do spot out a castle barricade from Gone Walkabout, so probably an introduction of Sledge here could be a huge thing, but Please Don't Bully Me has quite a job here to try to slow down the pushes. There's already, I believe, a two-player entry. Yes, Yoshi and Cheesebender has actually managed to make an entry, as Novawick is just preparing for maybe catching somebody on rotation from the top floor, but it seems that Please Don't Bully Me just bailed out of that position, so that's free real estate taken, but Weird One on the top floor could really throw in a spanner in the works.
The downfall here does manage to take a little bit of damage in herself. Isn't going to get down though, so she's still good to fight. Yoshi does have control of the train area, so this is a very fast push coming out from Nutty Gaming. But the warbang does come through, and the Ying player on Nutty Gaming side does get down through the wall. Cass takes a little bit of damage in return, but trades it off onto Weird One. Meanwhile, Hodo gets that kill onto Yoshi, and Fallen Prestige finishing off Gorn Walkabout. But it is going to be finally that C4 kill that really stops the barrage and stops the momentum of the attackers. I believe Novawick should be in a safe position to get picked up, but things aren't really looking good for Nutty Gaming at this point.
Yeah, with Fallen Prestige, I believe, running into one of the Capcan traps as well, this is definitely not the best case scenario, given that looking at the health points of the attackers, this is going to be quite a rough one. Two players are being stacked right around that corner, so this could be huge. There's a peek already finding a kill into Cheesebender. Now it's down to Fallen Prestige and Novawick to try to make a play here. This downfall here, and Please Don't Bully Me, is definitely ready for a play. Another air jab that did come around finally does grant Novawick the kill, and they now taking control of one of the sides, but instead Fallen Prestige needs to go in for the drop down, go in for the plan, because right now otherwise this will be denied very quickly. Haru starting her pre-fire as well, could potentially catch a few damage points there towards Novawick, and right now, this is about to all fall apart. Fallen Prestige finds one, but no, the time has run out, and Barry's Bees do win out the round number 12 to push us into overtime.
And it is going to be the first overtime of this season's Women's League. So it is going to be a 6-6, which does mean that both teams will be drawing. I don't believe that there was an overtime in effect for this.
Was supposed to be, yeah. Right. We are just going to be switching back just to us really quickly as... please, no. Please, stop. Stop. Don't want that. Thank you. We do need that overtime, though, to be played out. Yeah, look. We just gonna get things on the way, but that does give us a little bit of time to really talk about what really happened. So, hang on, yeah, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Would you be able to maybe run us through as to what needs to happen here between the two teams right now?
Yeah, so with the overtime being reached, it does mean that it will be the first team that reaches 8 wins, or eight round wins instead of the usual 6. That will be instead of the usual 7, that will be taking the win on the map. So, it does need to be a 2-round lead for the win to be happening. And as it is, it really could be anyone's game between Nutty and Barry's Bees, because again, all these rounds have been one at a time. Nutty takes 1, Barry's Bees takes 2, Nutty retaliates by taking another 2 of their own. There really isn't any space that is being given up by either team. They're both really showing that they are good at defense, they are good at attack. It just all comes down to which side it is.
Yeah. The fact that we also, I believe we're actually going to be seeing, let me just double check, it is going to be Barry's Bees on the defense to kick things off on attack. It will potentially get them, will get them the advantage. Sorry, Naz, I'm just trying to multitask here. But yeah, it is going to be a best of 3 rounds between the two teams, and we shall need to see them play it out here. But yeah, I was definitely quite keen to see the overtime, but I'm not too sure what happened there with the playlist set up, as we most definitely needed to see the overtime actually come around. But yeah, look, this definitely makes the game even more so exciting here, and definitely makes it even more so uncertain as to who will be able to come out victorious here. So let's see what would really happen here, as it is going to be, so attack is going to be done by Nutty Gaming. And yeah, well, we're just about to kickstart the game in just a short few moments. Thatcher Lucali has been banned out, as well as Mira and Kaid. Yep. And yeah, sorry, I'm just amidst all of the the setups. Pardon me. Just checking up on the R's for the teams, if we are good to go. Okay, so we are going to be waiting for a few more players just to come back from a little bit of a toilet break. Well, that does give us some time to really kind of maybe deconstruct some of the pushes, because definitely for, say, Barry's Bees, they did some good holds, were able to kind of adapt on the go. Big props to as well, Please Don't Bully Me, for some of her Valk plays as well, because it felt like thanks to her plus occasional plays from a Weird One and Golden Walkabouts, these 3 players were kind of able to swing things around for their team.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I feel like Barry's Bees, overall as a team, I feel like they play a little bit better than Nutty Gaming, purely because of their coordination and how well, each player is really complementing one another. Whereas I feel like on the Nutty Gaming side of things, the reason why their rounds have been so successful when they have won is just because of their fragging power as well. You know, a lot of the times they do open up with those impactful kills, whether it is on a thermite or, you know, a nomad or someone who does have utility that you really don't want to be losing so early on in the rounds. And because they're able to take down these attackers, they are able to really sway the round in terms of their favor.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see if that is going to happen. Just a few technical issues here that we need to fix up before we continue with OT. To fix up, but we are just gonna take a short maybe ad break just to get everything readied up and get all the players back into the lobby, as they do need to fix up some of the stuff. And so don't go too far away. We will be back in just a short moment after the short ad break, and we shall continue with the overtime. Or maybe not.
Too far to stop. Yeah, I tried. Flying, crashing, looking for a perfect suicide. Circling the
your happy place. It will change your groove when you dance on.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the overtime. And it is going to be the... please. Game. Thank you. Okay, we are back. For the overtime rounds, best of 3, it is going to be the decider as to which team will come out victorious here. Now, previously, it was... Oh, for crying out loud. Please, stop. There we go. Okay, we've gotten rid of it. We're good. Bar and Cocktail Lounge is coming out for the first defense of the game. And oh my god, I just realized the lobby is wrongly set up. That is a rip. Yeah, so the teams won't have the chance to switch over since it's not overtime. So we shall go back just to our cameras just for a short,
Attackers
brief
need to
time.
locate
Pardon
and
on that one. As unfortunately, yeah, the that was a bit of my mistake, and yeah, so we need to rehost. Unfortunately, the lobby. As yeah, a few technical difficulties there as well. I believe the round history didn't really work out there, so yeah, we'll need to quickly reset things up. Unfortunately, as I was hoping that we would get things underway, but alas, custom game is there. Now, what needs to, for Barry's Bees, after they had such a pretty decent run on the defense, do they need to really do anything differently here for themselves if they want to win out for themselves on this match?
Well, I feel like for whichever team, when it comes to overtime, whichever team actually nabs the first round, it would be a huge advantage for them just because of that, tremendous mental pressure. Because, when you get to a point where it's 6-6, you really don't want to be the team that is losing out because you have proved that both teams are equally capable of winning. It's just a matter of who is going to play better at that exact moment and for those exact rounds. So to be able to get the first round in an overtime match is going to be a huge mental, almost intimidation onto the other team. And I feel like whoever takes that could possibly take the game itself.
Right. Okay. Because we saw a few very close rounds that could have ended in favor of one or the other team if there was given, say, a little bit more time. So possibly this could also be attributed to some maybe coordination issues a few times, but yeah, look, overall both the teams certainly have been putting up quite a good fight, as we just need to reset things up here once again, unfortunately. But yeah, look, I'm quite keen for the bands, for the play, and to see just who will come out really victorious here, because both teams really deserve a win here, I reckon.
And both teams, I would assume definitely want that win and need that win because both teams are actually currently sitting on, oh my gosh, my throat is like giving way. Both teams are actually sitting on 0 wins at this point. So to be able to, get a win would definitely boost them up in terms of their standings in the round robin. And as it is, this is one of their best shots they've got to really take a win for themselves.
Yeah, definitely. That should definitely also boost them up on the leaderboard as well to keep them away from the bottom 2 positions, which should ensure that they will be staying out of, if there's going to be any kind of relegation, really. So, yeah, curious to see whether that would be the case here. But look, any kind of thoughts on maybe what sites should be played out here for for both of these teams when they are going to be going on the defense? Because it seems that certain sites were certainly much better executed by both of the teams comparative to some of the other, or even some of the tertiary ones.
Well, you know, if I would say if I was Barry's Bees and we were on defense, we'd definitely be sticking away from that kitchen and service site because they don't really have a good track record of really successfully defending it. Or it could just be, you know, Nut Eat Gaming is going in at a very strong attack for that specific site. So, you know, especially when you are on overtime, you want to make every single round count. You really don't want to be picking into the rounds where you possibly would have lost or you possibly will be weaker at in. You know, similarly for Nut Eat Gaming, every time I believe they have gone for a reading room and dining hold, it has been a little bit weaker from their side, and Barry's Bees has been able to get a more of an advantage when it comes to that. So really, to play it safely would just be going default into that cocktail and bar site, just to really duke it out, see whichever team comes out on top will come out on top.
Yeah, now we are getting all of the players back in. Hopefully this time no more of the rehosts, no more of the technical difficulties, so we shall be getting that underway. 6-6 scoreline on the Cafe Dostoyevsky is coming around. It is going to be Barry's Bees who will be continuing their defense, I believe. Yes, so it is going to be Barry's Bees on the defense here to continue kind of their, I suppose, momentum here, or whatever, what is left of it at this point, I suppose. And yeah, look, they've possibly could have shut down quite a fair few pushes, because in the past, say, 4 rounds, it was majority of the rounds by Barry's Bees. So they have a good chance here for a win, whereas for Nutty Gaming, they need to ramp up their aggression. They need to make sure that they win out either the first or their second attack, and make sure that they win out their defense round to keep themselves competitive in the scoreline. So we'll have to see whether that is going to be the case here, whether we shall be continuing to see the trend of essentially the defense being more so of a dominant force. And well, yeah, it's going to be just the matter of time, really, before either one of the teams do win out. Few of the talks in the chat, in the chat within the lobby, about a few of those TKs that did come around amidst all of the rush, I suppose. So we won't be talking about those just yet, as we just about to be all ready to roll. Fingers crossed this time, no technical difficulties, as hopefully my brain will actually be functioning for this one properly. And yeah, look, just a short few moments before we can actually hit the start. Right, so Going Walkabouts did go for an R. Cheesebender on R. So good luck, have fun. We are going to be going straight into Cafe Dostoyevsky. Hopefully the round history is all down right. So, well, it is going to be that. 6-6 is the scoreline between the two teams. Kayed, Thatcher, Kali, and Mira are the bans between the two teams. Round 13, overtime, very first round. Here we go.
And it is going to be that bar and cocktail site that is going to be chosen out by Barry's Bees. You know, it would definitely be a more sensible choice than going into reading room or into that kitchen service site, where the sway could be a little bit more unpredictable. As it is for bar and cocktail, Barry's Bees know how to play against that. They know what they're going to be placing into it. It is going to be a ying as well at that rate. Hotto is going to be going for a 6 pick onto Capcan. We haven't seen her play Capcan onto that bar and cocktail site yet. It has only been for that reading room, so I'm curious to see, you know, if that will change things.
As many bombs as they can.
Yeah, well, bar definitely is going to be a very interesting one. Last time it was defended pretty well by Barry's Bees, so it's going to be quite a fiesta, and as well, including that, Hotto did decide to stick around for the Capcan traps, and see if maybe she could get some action going here as well. Apart from that, really looking at the lineup, well, Don't Walkabout still sticking to the Oryx pick, which did most certainly introduce, well, a few possibilities, but unfortunately for her, couldn't really play those possibilities out, as she was amongst the first few players that got taken out pretty quickly during the push.
Yeah, I feel like for an operator like Oryx, the longer you can stay alive, the more pressure you can be asserting onto the attackers, because, you know, when the timer goes down, when the drone count, when the amount of available drones for the attackers whittles down, going up against the Oryx is so much, it's you can't predict it at all, especially if the Oryx plays it right. You know, you go through unpredictable hatches, you can lie in wait, you can assert all this pressure that makes the attackers constantly need to watch their backs, which means that if they're watching their backs, they won't be watching what's in front of them, which also means that, you know, members of Barry's Bees could go for an aggressive swing and could, you know, capitalize off of that.
Yeah, could definitely play off that, and most definitely it seems like Please Don't Bully Me will be trying to capitalize off some of the information that could be coming out from the second floor. C4 from down below could very much work out really well here against Fallen Prestiges. The Zofia player is certainly completely clueless about the play from below, but it seems that the Valk is certainly not having that in plans, given that she actually brought on board the ballistic shield instead of a C4. So minimal vertical play is coming around, and Kaz is actually looking for a flank. She knows that there might be somebody coming out through the brown stairs, but it's Yoshi to actually opened up the opportunity, as I'm not too sure why did the R6 analyst said that she planted a diffuser, but alas, well, she planted a bullet in somebody's head, though. That's for sure.
A plant definitely did go down in that case. A little bit of a warning shot does go down into Yoshi, but it is going to be a weird one, holding a very aggressive angle in piano. Not a lot of times you will see someone play so aggressively, so I feel like against members of Nutty Gaming, it might catch them by surprise.
Yeah, right now talking about the surprise, Going Walkabouts tried to go for one and ended up copping quite a fair bit of punishment from what I'm assuming is Fallen Prestige. Weird one now, opens up onto the Yoshi to get rid of the Nomad player and still keeps all of her HP. Goes in for another gunfight. Being prone definitely does increase her possibilities of acquiring the bread, and well, Kaz does manage to meanwhile punish the Valkyrie player of Please Don't Bully Me to, well, to get the player count a little bit closer, although Going Walkabouts is so low in health that at this point a single shot will pretty much see her demise too.
Weird One is in a little bit of a precarious situation now because she could get pincered if the attackers do play it right. Hodo is holding down the ground in Freezer, and she gets that headshot onto Cheesebender, which does mean that the diffuser will be dropped in a very awkward position for Cass to pick up, and the timer is going to be running out, which does mean that Barry's Bees will be winning the first round of the overtime match.
Yeah, there we go. Only one round away from potentially coming out victorious here. Barry's Bees managing to pull off a very big comeback for themselves as well, gotta say. Certainly looking right on board here, although now that I said it, there's quite a possibility for the Caster's Curse to come and bite us in the back, but we'll have to see how the kitchen service and cooking will work out here for the defense of Barry's Bees, as now it's well, how for them it's going to be the attack, but how it's more so the defense for the Nutty Gaming that is going to work out. We'll have to see, as it's definitely going to be quite a change in the pace. Hodo bringing in a fuse for the kitchen service and cooking, and that is probably one of the better sites to actually bring in the fuse on, so definitely quite keen to see if that is going to bring any kind of frags.
Yeah, I feel like, I definitely agree with you. If you were to bring Fuse on any side, it would definitely be for that kitchen service side. So I feel like Barry's Bees might have read into how Nutty is going to be playing, and it really falls into their expectations of how Nutty is playing, because surely, Nutty was like, Barry's Bees is going to be struggling against this kitchen service take. Every time they have gone for this take, they struggled, so we'll start off with it. And Barry's Bees have gone, you know what, we're going to try something different. We're going to bring in a fuse, and we're going to clear top down that way.
10 seconds.
Yeah, that's a really good way to go about it, although they do need to keep Hodo alive for that to happen, so definitely we'll have to keep an eye out, because surely at this point there will be some presence up on the second floor. That is going to be actually Fallen Prestige that is going to be coming around to play here in the mining room and train. Interestingly enough, nobody's going to be there to really assist her, and that could potentially bite back later, although it doesn't look like Barry's Bees are really intending to go for a conventional push through the mining, and instead it's going to be some third floor play to maybe force initially Fallen Prestige out of her position.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the struggles that Barry's Bees do get when they are attacking that kitchen service site is when they are trying to flush out Fallen Prestige from inside those train carriages. You know, first time we've seen that happen, Barry's Bees did not do a good job, and they actually, you know, lost more people than they did when they managed to take down Fallen Prestige. And so I was thinking, you know, possibly with a fuse in hand, it would be a lot easier to flush her out from the train carriages. But Fallen Prestige has chosen a different corner this time to go for. Instead, not even going for that train room, she is going to be sitting in that mining site, which should throw the wrench in a little bit for Barry's Bees' plans.
Yeah, well, the cluster charge is already coming out at the very good positioning if Fallen Prestige was there, but no indication on the kill feed will be happening, so instead we shall be seeing a little bit of a different outcome. Fallen Prestige still kind of hanging around. If cluster charge could be put down right at the minibar, and that could be the right effect there, but it seems that right now actually a few pre-fires could be indicating that very thing, although if Fallen Prestige won't be too careful, a single pre-fire could pretty much end her run very quickly. Oh, drone does spot the position, and the ping on 2 does come around, so simple pre-fire should suffice, but no, instead Weird One does make an opening there. Fallen Prestige does get the frag instead, and well, that is a bit of a misplay there from the Zofia player of Weird One.
Yeah, I feel like the right play in that case, especially if you had the yellow pings coming out, thankfully Hotto does manage to pick off Fallen Prestige, but you know, if you did have the yellow pings coming out, you should have definitely gone for a wallbang, you know, ask for a teammate to sit on that camera so you could go for a wallbang, because opening up the wall like that with your Zofia impacts does alert the defenders that you are there and you are aware of their position, and so possibly not the right choice of play to go for.
Yeah. More hockey pucks are starting to fly out. I believe there's still one more to be used up, and it just starts flying out. It won't be catching any of the defenders whatsoever, but it does lock them into more sort of just powerful positions. Novawick could potentially throw in a C4 and get the kill, but no, instead it's gone Walkabouts that does get down. Downfall here needs to go in for the push and gets the frag. The plant needs to start as well because it's Novawick that finds the kill. Cass is the last player standing. She needs to deny the push because the diffuser has been dropped, and no, Hotto unfortunately could not close out that round. One more round will be alive there for Nutty Gaming, as oh my lord, that could not get any closer.
I feel like for the attackers in that case, maybe they weren't aware that the timer was ticking down, because it felt like, you know, the attackers were playing a little bit passive considering they did have 3 seconds left on the board. They did have a winning position, you know, it was a 2v1, so technically if they did just bum rush onto site, they would have been able to possibly get that pick onto Cass, which would have meant that round would have been theirs, which then would have meant that the match would have been theirs. But in any case, we are welcome to the site of a 7-7 and an overtime match point, which is you know, something we don't really get to see often at all in a competitive scene, so quite keen to see the outcome of this match.
Definitely. Nearly a double Spetsnaz 6-pick does come out, but instead Yoshi bringing in a Dokkaebi. See if she can maybe cause some disruption there during the push onto the reading room. Could be a pretty decent idea. Hotto swapping back on over to Capcan. It shows that maybe that's becoming a little bit more of a comfort pick rather than a surprise pick from the Barry's Bees player. And apart from that, really, well, the rest of the roster is looking just about the same. Going Walkabout bringing in the Castle this time rather than the Oryx for a little bit more utility. That did prove to be quite useful previously, so should be able to deny just about enough time to pretty much force the win via the timer. So have to see if that is going to be the case, given that both teams have that kind of quote-unquote sin going for both of them.
Yeah, I'm once again keen to see how effective the Kapkan Trap will be. We did see Kapkan Traps take a little bit of health down from members of Nutty the last time that reading room was being taken. So if that can happen again, this would be huge, perhaps even resulting in a little Kapkan explosive kill as well. That would be a huge pick for Barry's Bees.
Yo, yeah, most definitely. Well, for now, it seems that it's still a little bit of a late reinforcement from going walkabouts, as her and Weird One is going to be playing out in the third floor. It's Fallen Prestige that is going to be going up ahead to try to maybe drone out before even making any kind of advancement, as Weird One actually fallen back to a bit more of a passive position. Won't be spotted by the drone, so at the very least, at least temporarily, this is going to be the full control of the piano room. Already a swing by Weird One does force the Zephyr player off the drone, but that is just about it. Weird One just falling back even further down the hallway, and now slowly rendezvousing with going walkabouts. Should find a few pings here and there, a few callouts, but apart from that, it's just about to go down to the gunfights.
That is a lot of members of Nutty Gaming that is stacked up in that piano room, which does mean that if the Valkyrie can get an impactful C4 off, she could be able to net, 1 or 2 kills really easy.
Yeah, well, she is creeping up right through the red stairs, but already gets pinged by the call from DKB, and well, that's actually very quick rotation back on over to the second floor, which does give away full ground position here for the attack, and that is a solid beginning. Although 57 seconds remaining, Kaz and the company need to go and get the frags going. There we go, already. Fallen Prestige does find one for herself. There is a C4 prepped, but I'm pretty sure that is from Valkyrie, who was attempting to do that very thing. So for now, well, that's the first frag done. Breach is going to be in place here for the reading room, and not a single person actually in reading. Instead, it's Weird One offside that does manage to find herself a kill onto the KB. About to maybe go in for a swing onto Cheesebender, but not just yet. Meanwhile, the rest of the roster of Barry's Bees are attempting to hold on their own in the dining, as Gone Walkabouts is also applying some pressure from down below. And with 15 seconds remaining, the push needs to happen. The time has already ran out, and the Cheesebender needs to go in for the plant here.
Cheesebender is going to be going for the plant, but she does get taken down instantly. Fallen Prestige goes for the trade onto Weird One, and she needs to plant the bomb down herself. But this isn't going to be looking good, because Hodo is going to be able to finish off Fallen Prestige, who is planting the bomb, and so helpless. And this does mean match point does go to Barry's Bees in an excellent round of 8-7, sorry.
8-7, what a game. Full overtime, full set of rounds, and such a close victory. Very well done by Barry's Bees, as Hodo was the one to bring it back. Thank you, 6 analyst. And well, yeah, that's the conclusion of this matchup as well. After a few of the technical difficulties, we finally got there. It's 8-7. Barry's Bees. Fantastic performance from them. Well, any kind of thoughts on how could that maybe shape up the leaderboard now that we kind of finishing up with this playday?
Well, I feel like for, Barry's Bees, who just took the win, this would definitely boost their position up in terms of the rankings in the round robin. For a team who previously didn't have any wins under their belt, to now have one is definitely going to be a huge morale booster as well. So, I can only hope to see bigger and better things coming out from them, and to, see more advanced plays come out from them as well.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm certainly keen to see whether Barry's Bees will continue improving themselves as well further down the line in the future playdays. But look, as it stands, well played to them. That does certainly put them, I believe, just above Nutty Gaming. So that is a great start here for that roster. But they still yet have to go through quite a whole lot of wins if they do want to maybe claw themselves into that top 4 position, because right now it's pretty firmly locked in. Now, let's have a look at the updated kind of scoreline for all three of our games that did happen tonight. So it was a 7-1 win for Shadownet over 71st. Nocturnal grabbed themselves a 7-1 victory over Kingswomen, and a very hard-fought victory by Barry's Bees, an 8-7. I believe one of the first overtimes as well that we've seen this season.
Yeah, and not only that, it was pretty much an overtime where quite possibly all the rounds that could have been played were actually played out.
Yes. Yeah, all of it that could have been played out has been played out, so that's about all that could have been done for that game. Very nicely done, gotta say. So, with that said, that is the conclusion of tonight's matches. I'm not too sure if we will get to see the standings as well for tonight, but apart from that, a quick reminder as well for everyone, we do have the ZQ MVP chair going as well. And, well, let's have a look actually at the final and the final standings as well that we shall be coming out in just a short few moments. But look, I'm just excited for future matches because some of the rivalries may be forming here, namely that Nocturnal Elevate. I'm definitely quite excited to see whether that is going to lead us into any kind of closer scorelines, because last time I believe we've seen Nocturnal and Elevate play out, or at least I think that was in the Rise of Valkyries. Elevate won out a 7-1 victory, I believe. So that was one of the ways that a very uncertain kind of, well, unusual victory that has been accomplished. So curious to see how will, close to the end of the regular season, the standings will shape up. Let's actually have a look at them. There we go. So Barry's Bees do manage to put themselves up on the 5th position. And right below 71st, actually, only 3 points is the difference between the 4th and the 5th, so potentially could find themselves some victories further down the line and potentially could force 71st out of that position. But look, Nocturnal and Elevate so far locked themselves in pretty nicely up on the top positions.
Yeah, and I feel like at the same time, you definitely can't discount ShadowNet, especially after their stellar performance today that we saw where they versed 71st. You know, they had that 7-1 victory, which was definitely a different side of ShadowNet that we did see. And if we, look at the actual point difference between Elevate and ShadowNet, there is very little difference considering that both teams have only played, 3 matches because they did also have an existing bye. Whereas Nocturnal and 71st, who are also in the top 4, have already played all 4 of their matches, and they will have a future bye in the coming weeks.
Yeah. Well, with that said, we are pretty much at the end of our show. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for coming around, for tuning in, and watching some of the really close games, some of the fantastic performances by the girls over at the teams of ShadowNet 71st, Barry's Bees, and Nutty Gaming. Congrats to ShadowNet and Barry's Bees for their victories. Massive thanks to our wonderful sponsors, that is ZQ Racing, Ubisoft Australia, Computer Alliance, Intel, Cooler Master, and ROG. Thank you all as well. Thank you, Pi, for joining me, and we'll catch you all in the next one. Take it easy and see you later.
Bye-bye.
to fade away. This is how I feel when you take me to some levels that I've never been. When we dance again, all our trouble seems to fade away. This is how I feel when you take me to some places that I've never been.
Never been.